What up, Moody?
What's up, Samson?
We are exhausted. We had SmackDown last night, live in the district.
It was
Early,
fun.
early rating, just overall show. Like, what would
I mean,
you rate the show?
um that felt like a very um missable episode of SmackDown. Even if I was watching it on TV, I'd give it like
Yeah,
2.5, like 2.5 stars. Not due to wrestling, just like the content of like advancing stories and everything in there.
yeah,
Obviously, the
yeah,
wrestling is 100,
yeah. I definitely
but
felt a
like
little
as
late.
a
I was like, we didn't get Roman. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I
that's
didn't
wild.
think so. I didn't think so.
That's wild. Um, I would say like looking coming back home and watching what we saw, like kind of I haven't seen like any much televised clips of it, but just
Mm,
kind of seeing some of the feedback. I'm like, all right, yeah, it seemed like a pretty kind of like average show. But being there, I'm like, man, it was really dope. And so
yeah,
we'll get into SmackDown a little later, but I'll start off with my Percy for the week. I saw this clip as I was scrolling through Reddit, I believe. Was it Reddit or Twitter? Yeah, it was Reddit. And I don't know if you saw this clip of this BattleBots match.
I did. I watched it after you posted it. Obviously, I was
It's
like, okay.
so dope. Like I remember seeing the one with the flames in it with the hammer that kind of like spikes down. I forgot its name, but I've that they these both have been around for like a long time. Both these
Yeah.
bots, and so this is honestly one of the dopest battles. And to see the way how it ended, I'm like, man, good times, man. BattleBots, man. I remember when BattleBots first debuted on like Spike TV when Spike TV became a channel, and I believe Mick Foley was the initial host of it. So a
Mm.
little bit of wrestling crossover here for you. So that's how I start my Percy off. Is if you haven't seen it, we'll try to find a link somewhere to share. But this is a really dope BattleBots battle that goes on for the entirety, but I think it ends in like a knockout. And the thing ends up being, like, on flames and everything and just, like, totally destroyed. It was awesome. So, that's my Percy.
My Percy, I know I didn't put it in the doc, but I was sitting here thinking, and you see my eyes like looking over because I was actually trying to find something. I was like,
Yeah.
what am I looking forward to, or what did I care about this week? And it's like, oh yeah, well, I know you'll appreciate this because remember when you were like asking me, you're like, oh, how's your off season going? And I was like, or how did you like the Jags off season?
Mhm.
Like a month ago, and I was like, bro, let me know when they're like in pads. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't care yet. Well, we skunked the Falcons yesterday. I'm ready for the season now. So I don't know if you saw obviously preseason, does not matter, but I'm happy anytime I see Jags 31-0. Like, you kidding
Right.
me? Trevor
Yeah.
had 2 TDs, perfect passer rating, you know what I'm saying? Something slight, something little 8 for 10,
Yeah.
some little something. Mac Jones looking good, Travis bursting out the backfield, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we was locking them up. So yeah, I'm ready for the season now. I'm like, okay, let's
The
go.
AFC
I'm
South
not.
is gonna be
I'm not.
interesting.
Wait, say it again.
The AFC South is gonna be interesting.
Well, yeah, because like I've been saying, I mean, like Trevor has the tendency to sail the ball. Like that's like his actual like uh misstep. Like that is a character trait that he has. Like even when he's like good, he will like sail maybe like 1.5 a game. You should put an over under on that, where that could possibly be an interception just because he throws it too high. But I'm like, yeah, with CJ, I mean, the Texans reloaded. I ain't got no explain none of this to you. I just, but we got this guy out in Tennessee putting mayo in his coffee. They are not a concern. But the other two, the other two,
You never know. That
my eyebrow was
mayo,
raised.
that putting mayo in your coffee, maybe, it's quirky enough that it might work, you know? It
Yeah,
might just be like that thing that's like, that's a selling factor. You never know. He might have like a Hillman's.
bruh, like maybe that's his like the white equivalent of Beyonce saying she got hot sauce in her bag, swag. You know what I mean? It's like this man got. I know you saw the commercial already. He got like the Miracle Whip or the Hellman's sponsorship. Like he signed a lifetime deal
Oh, you
with
already got it?
Hellman's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw
Yeah,
that
I mean,
commercial?
no, but I mean, like I said, I just assumed that he probably would get that. just because
Exactly.
like
It's
who puts
exactly
mayonnaise in
what
their
you
coffee?
imagine.
I get it. It's like eggs and but that's still disgusting.
No, no, it's absolutely vile. Absolutely. But that's all I had,
Uh,
though. Bring on the NFL season.
yes, yes, please. Let's do that. Let's do that. And let's start the show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Proud of
The French fry and throw Moody off the top rope. It's the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast.
weekly roll avenue.
Follow us on social, Instagram, Gmail, all of the Wrestling Re-Up. Discord.
Yeah, we still gotta be active. That's the thing. We gotta definitely find like you have like any young relatives that are into wrestling that just want to just be social media managers?
No. The next youngest under me is my sisters. We're the babies of the family. So, but like maybe if we ask my cousin Nikki in Florida, maybe fingers
Yeah.
crossed, she actually likes wrestling because she's
Yeah.
18 years old. So it's like, yeah, that's the next generation right there.
That's what we need because we are just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, a Gen Z correspondent for sure.
We do not care enough to do social media. But yes, what up, everyone? We're back another week of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast, where we go through the avenue of wrestling, and we got a pop-up show this week. So it's a pop-up event of AEW All In out in Cardiff, Wales. Right, Mara?
Yeah.
Right, Cardiff, Wales. Yep. So large card, 10 matches. But as I was going through the card, I'm like, most of these matches, it doesn't feel overly inflated. Outside of some of the group matches, I'm like, it doesn't feel like this feels like one of the big ones, the big AEW
Yeah.
pay-per-views that you kind of need to watch. So, intrigued. So, but we got an eventful week. We talked about we went to SmackDown this week, but we'll get into the details of that. Moody, what do you want to add to this conversation as I ramble on to begin the show?
Um, I mean, just with you talking about SmackDown, I was just thinking about how much of a good time we had and how Homegirl was pouring heavy for us at the when we went up to the bar. So
Yeah.
because I only had 2 drinks, but by the end of that, granted we did take other chewable substances just prior to walking in. So yeah, we was lit. That's all.
Yeah.
So I had a really good
Oh,
time. That's all I was
really
thinking.
great time. Great time. I'm a little light on news this week, but so it seems like we're just gonna be popping in and out of these stores pretty quickly. So guess we could start off with the Raw recap and stop at the flagship store and
Yeah.
talk about what we picked up from Raw. I'll let you start off.
I mean, we might as well jump into it. This is the only thing that we both had up here, but the Randy Orton versus Ludwig Kaiser. I assume that you're gonna like sandwich in like the Gunther and Randy segment earlier on in the night, which set up this match obviously.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was first of all, it's a great spot. We haven't seen Ludwig in a while, basically like since he beat down Giovanni Vinci. It's crazy. Like we saw Giovanni's vignette before we saw Ludwig in person. You know what I'm saying? I thought there was part of me that thought Giovanni was like leaving the company or something, like maybe his contract was up and that's why they beat him down. Because
Yeah.
I always liked him as part of Imperium. But yeah, the match in this setting, obviously we're building towards Bash in Berlin. Randy gets the dub, but set up earlier by, a chop block attack by Ludwig Kaiser. Randy, what's all right? I feel like Randy is what would you grade him like in his career as a seller?
He's a good seller.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I just thought like it's just like those like little in between moments when like it was obviously like he takes the chop block, right? And this is like just a suspension of disbelief of kayfabe, where it's just like, bro, you know that they're standing behind you, and you're already on the ground. Like if you're a smart heel, then
Yeah.
you just like roll under the ropes at that point in time. So I guess that's not selling. That's more so, I guess, going to his thought process. I didn't mean his selling, but that also stuck with me. But yeah, RKO out of nowhere. What did you think was going to happen? Like you fucked with the Viper, Ludwig.
I
What's your
thought
assessment?
I thought Ludwig was the most interesting aspect, and this is me just maybe fantasy booking. And so, obviously, Randy's not going to lose this, but Ludwig, he was out for injury because
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
remember because he was feuding with was it not Sheamus? He was feuding with somebody before he got hurt.
Yeah, he kept running around the ropes
Maybe it
doing the
was
drop kick.
I think it was Braun Breaker. Maybe I forget, but
Yeah,
he was feuding with somebody and then got hurt, and so he kind of recently came back. But I thought it was interesting that he came back and had a into that segment with Gunther because we haven't seen him with Gunther in a minute. Like those two have been kind
yeah,
of separate and doing their own thing. So I thought it was interesting to see that Ludwig was still associated with Gunther, but I don't think that's for long. And
yeah.
it's what I'm kind of fantasy booking here with this Ludwig and Randy, and that's why I kind of have this in kind of mid rising. Is is Gunther going to be tight with with Ludwig on Monday that he lost to Randy?
Mm,
And is he gonna do this whole thing where how he used to do Ludwig back in the day, where like if Ludwig didn't live up to Gunther's standards, he would publicly humiliate him and like chop him in his chest and stuff like that. And so like Ludwig, he's kind of stepped up his game since the last time, especially since he's had time away from Gunther. Like he's like, yo, I've been running stuff, while you've been doing your championship run. Like I was kind of getting my game up. So like I'm not the same cat that you can smack around anymore. And so it's early, but could we possibly see Ludwig kind of possibly cost Gunther his championship at Bash at Berlin? So that's
mm.
kind of my head's at. That's where I have this at mid rising and where I'm kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah, that's an interesting booking because I remember like we both didn't believe that Sammy should have like I didn't believe Sammy should have won at WrestleMania because one of like my far out bookings was like, Ludwig basically earning Gunther's respect because he was on that tear. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there was like some kind of storyline where you could have had Ludwig be the one to beat Gunther. So that was in the cards for me as a booking, at least. I like that idea. But yeah, that's all I had for Randy and Kaiser. You have anything else?
For Randy and Kaiser, no. Outside of that fantasy booking, like that's what I had. Obviously, the match was good itself. I mean, again, it's just good to see Ludwig just getting put in these situations. I definitely do think it could be an opportunity for him to just establish himself as just more than just like a lackey for a lack of better terms, as far as like how he's presented on television, right? It's like, no, I am a individual, standalone fighter and well deserving champion. Kind of in the same vein as like what we're kind of doing with Pete Dunne in a bit. But I guess we can get into Pete Dunne and Sheamus because I thought that match. I have this as mid rising as well. I pretty much had everything in mid rising. I think we all pretty much. Well, I don't know where your other things are rated, but this was in my mid rising for the fact
Mhm.
that the match was done well. I was disappointed that Pete Dunne lost because I was like, man, like, and the way he lost, I mean, it was cool because Sheamus had he put Sheamus's hand inside the turnbuckle.
Yeah, great
And
spot. Great spot. That was
yeah,
the
it was a
spot
great
of them.
spot. And
Yeah.
then like, Sheamus just muscles out of it and then Bros kicks him. Like everything looked great. And I'm just like, damn, he had to take that L. But it made sense because they just have promoted that he's going to be in Dublin, Ireland for like college game day.
Oh,
And I'm like,
okay.
oh, okay. Cross promotion. You don't want the guy to go there on a loss, right?
Yeah.
So it it gives me hope that like he's going to get his lick back. He's got to get his lick back at Bash in Berlin on European soil.
Yeah.
So that's why I have
Yeah.
Pete Dunne and Sheamus in mid rising. Sorry, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah. No, no. For me, it was definitely like just the spot of the night type of thing for me
Yeah.
was, you know, Sheamus being a badass and ripping the turnbuckle off. Cause I'm like, I felt like that was like, you know, a big show kind of thing. You know what I mean? That's like a Brock kind of thing. So it's just like, it was definitely unexpected. I just thought he would like, you know, pull his hand back, obviously just pull your arm from underneath.
Yeah.
You know how it's in there. So just pull it out. But yeah, he's just like summons his inner, you know, Irish Spring super
Irish
pale
Rage.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Irish rage, you know, barbarian mode and fucking yeah, that bro kick was awesome too. I mean, it just goes to like show like the chemistry that like not just like being but I don't want to just say similar background, but like
Yeah, you working
just
with your
having
boys.
exactly that's what
You
I
working
mean.
with people
Yeah.
that you're friends. Like that's where like you like, oh, like these people are friends. And just for
Yeah.
the fact that they're friends, like they know how to work with one another. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And
It's like
so
chemistry on a basketball team, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
people got to know their roles and how somebody likes to sit in this pocket or how you
yeah.
like to take this shot. So it's
How
the
they
same thing.
like hit moves and stuff like that to make it
Yeah.
like look good. And so like I said, it's fun to see it when it works out like that. But again, just from like a story standpoint, I'm like, man, Pete lost. I hope he gets his lick back. And we could talk about more about Pete again because he was on television at the bodega too. So we'll get to Pete later in the show. But
Yeah.
that was my second mid for this week. Flip it back to you.
Uh I got this titled as Odyssey Jones gets the win versus the Final Testament. So
Yeah.
this match was great. I mean, obviously the New Day, awesome. Uh, but yeah, they end up going on, you know, the hot tag moment arrives, and I believe it's I always get Akam and Razor confused. But
I get the Tomatongas confused just from a
yeah,
distance, I guess.
yeah.
Especially since he
but
lost the patch now. I'm like, God damn.
but yeah, that like basically the ending sequence of the match is like um you know, Xavier Woods hitting his the limit break, you know, his diving elbow. Akam takes him outside, and then Razor and I think Kofi or Razor was already on the outside of the ring. Kofi, you know, jumps out, you know, does the whole "I'm taking everybody out" spot, and or it was oh no, Karrion Cross is outside because it was Razor that took it. But I like the fact that Odyssey Jones has a big boss man slam. I'm like very simple
Yeah.
and imposing for like a 385-pound guy. It's like
Mhm.
so simple. It's kind of like Mark Henry's world's strongest slam. I put those two moves in like the same category. It's like these belong to big dudes and broad shoulders. And it's like as long as they hit it clean, like it's devastating. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was uh similar, not trying to skip ahead, but similarly to how Naomi got the win later in the week, Odyssey Jones getting it. It's like, okay, yeah, we're pushing this storyline ahead. I have that one in Rising because it is obviously telling that breaking up of the New Day story and
Yeah.
letting it be the new guy prove his worth like in this setting. And he hasn't done anything wrong. Like this is like literally like, you know, I just thought of Kofi and like Xavier as a married couple.
Mhm.
Like Kofi done brought some baby home. And he's like, whose baby is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, and now I just gotta be okay with you having a baby on me. Like, and I just gotta take you back. Like, that's really what I think the relationship is. Like every time I see him like doing his facial acting, I'm like, mm-hmm. But yeah. I like the win. I like specifically that Odyssey got the win. So that's what's turning the arrow up for me
Yeah.
into mid rising for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have this listed, but I did want to call out, like I said last week, um, there needs to be a conversation that was to be had between Xavier and Kofi, and they kind of had it. Because remember, I talked about last week, I was like, is this a storyline based around replacing E? And they
Hmm.
mentioned it. And I mean, not Xavier, Kofi said, nah, it's not about replacing E. It's about, giving the young guys a chance, like we were positioned, what we were asking and stuff like that. And so, kind of what I was talking about last week, but Kofi, again, is not looking at self. Because the way that conversation ended was Xavier was like, you know what? I'm tripping. I gotta, look at, and stuff like that. I gotta be better. And so it's like, it's not. sure, Xavier has something to get over too, but Kofi, you are also being a complete asshole. So I do think there's like a level of like I still don't know exactly what Xavier is still kind of tripping about outside of like Kofi, maybe exactly. I don't know if it's necessarily Odyssey Jones, if it's just Kofi, just again not realizing that he's just being a complete asshole
Well, I think,
to his
like
friend.
you said, the conversation needed to happen, and it did. So
But
I
the
don't think you can
conversation was
say that
more about
he's.
like about
I don't
Odyssey
think,
Jones, not necessarily about like their relationship. They still haven't talked
but
about
the
their relationship.
first, but the number one like itemized list of problems that's wrong with this situation is replacing the E. You know what I'm saying? And that's the number one thing that everybody would be talking
He's
about. It's
not part of
another
New
big
Day.
guy who would be a powerhouse, right?
He's not part of New
So
Day. He's just working with them at this moment.
exactly, which is why you
He's a
said
contract worker.
that's the very
Kevin O
first
they
thing that
had
you got to
Kevin Owens be
address.
in the group.
That's the first thing you got to address. So he's like, no, I'm not replacing him. So he can still be in his feelings, but at this point, you can't say he's being a complete asshole. Partial, I agree with partial, not complete, because Kofi ain't never did nobody wrong. He ain't never betrayed anybody. Like, you got to take him at his word. Like, if you're Xavier, you have to take him at his word.
Again,
And where in your
what he said
history?
about Odyssey, I don't disagree with. It's more so like there's still an aspect of like, man, you've talked over me. You've made decisions without consulting me. Like, what's
Yes,
happening, bro? Like, again, so like there's an aspect where yes, Xavier, you should be better with Odyssey Jones than you have been because Odyssey hasn't
Kofi
really
shouldn't
deserved
be
Coffee
so
because
arrogant, though.
Odyssey hasn't, yeah, Odyssey hasn't done anything to insult Xavier, at least to my knowledge, and I haven't seen it.
No,
But
he hasn't.
Kofi needs to acknowledge that he hasn't been the best of friend recently to Xavier, and that hasn't happened yet. Like right now, Xavier is like, all right, yeah, I should be better, but like, bro, like, there's still the problem between me and you that we need to discuss, and so they're not quite there yet. But again, just they picked up a piece that again somebody's listening onto this. I said
Hmm.
it last night. Somebody's listening. They're not giving us the view.
they're shadow banning themselves as they watch
They're
us.
not giving us the view or the listen, but they're picking up what we're putting down.
Yeah.
So thank y'all, whoever is at WWE writing that is listening to us. We appreciate it, and eventually we'd hope to get compensated if it just becomes super fucking blatant. But for now, we'll give you these little freebies. But yeah, I like where that's headed at. I just like to see again. There's just you gotta do a little bit right now. It just still feels it feels very network TV scripted.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm not getting cable scripted. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting no FX. Feels like
Oh,
CW.
you mean that storyline specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It feels like a ABC, you know,
It's definitely,
CW
or what is it?
storyline
No.
rather than like an FX AMC
I was gonna
storyline.
say it's freeform. The former ABC family. Yeah, that's what it is. It's freeform. They just friends having a disagreement that's gonna blow up later.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like Grownish. Yeah, that's the show. Yeah, it's Grownish.
Hmm. Yeah,
Which
grownish.
it doesn't need to be Grownish. It needs to be like again. It needs to be an FX show. It needs to be like AMC show. Like I don't know. It needs to be like Snowfall. That's what
Yeah.
it needs to be.
Okay.
This is Franklin and Leon. What we talking about right here?
Yeah, I can see that. And then yeah, because Kofi's got to be the Franklin. He's the champion between the two. So, and not to mention just like
Ooh, you calling Xavier,
proportionally, Franklin is taller
but
than Leon too. So
but but Xavier is the one who started New Day,
yeah,
so he should be Franklin. That's
I
the beef right
mean,
there.
but
Who's the Franklin and who's the Leon?
yeah, if they want to break them up just directly, if they just want to have a fight in front of the crowd, then yeah, that's all
But
I
yeah,
had on.
that's dope.
What you want to say about the Wyatt Six?
I mean, I thought Maxine versus Ivy Now, we had well, we kind of had a match. It was like they went for a little bit and it was pretty decent. Like Maxine is showing that like again, like she's not the most polished, but like she puts a good enough effort where it's like, all right, like you actually are training and you're taking this seriously and it shows in the ring. So like it's not in the hate. I just I don't know why. I just didn't think that like the Wyatt Six would just interfere into this match. It makes complete sense because I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, Ivy now dissed her friends, like her friend Maxine. And so that's what the Wyatt Six are about. That's why they went after Gable, right? And so to have them interfere with Ivy Nile and now include her into it, it's like, oh, again, like we just thought, like, are they gonna even keep up? Are they even gonna remember that Ivy Nile and Maxine were friends? To the point where
yeah.
it's like, now we got the Wyatt Six interfering in their match, and Nikki Cross finally getting physical. So I'm not sure where it leaves Maxine at the end of the day, but I almost see Maxine. Like I think Maxine, she's really cool as a character because if you think about like the people that her character is hung around with, she hangs out with all the oddballs.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like she hangs out with maximum male models, and then they were doing goofy stuff. You know what I'm saying? She hangs out with Alpha Academy, like Otis and Tozawa, and like the New Day and stuff like that. Like she's not like you think she doesn't take herself seriously even within character. That like it would make sense that she would be befriending someone like Nikki Cross, even though like Nikki Cross is like super like creepy. It's like okay, Maxine is just a really good person that it wouldn't surprise me that like she became friends with Nikki Cross somehow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just like
I could see.
and understood Nikki Cross's like whole weird dynamic and like was like maybe Nikki Cross is like nonverbal, but like Maxine is like, yeah, I totally understand exactly what you're saying.
No, no, exactly. Like I was picture as you were saying that, I was like, I could picture like splitting a cucumber sandwich like backstage. Like, hey, I
Yeah.
have the other half of this. Like, and Nikki's just
Yeah.
sitting there, like,
And it's
and she's just like talking to her or something. I could definitely see that.
so it's like I just like the fact that like I don't know why I didn't think of it. It's obvious. It makes obvious sense now that when it happened. I was like, duh. But I thought it was interesting that like okay, now we're able to bring in this dynamic of elevating their storyline, which again could have just been a throwaway to something that now it's like, hey, we're integrating it within to the larger storyline, and there's actually some depth to it rather than just being like, two women just arguing because they lost their friendship. Again, it's stuff like that we've talked about before in women's wrestling.
Hmm.
There's always lacking depth, and now we're getting some type of depth. So
Yeah, and for I mean, if I was to put my like super fan like goggles on and be like, all right, why is this match here? I really think it was just to establish Nikki getting physical because she's the only one out of the Wyatt Six who hadn't up to this point. Because at least as far as she had been presented up to that point, she had only been a messenger
mhm.
and was just like a spectral being. So I think this was just needed for like the same way that we had, the Wyatt Six previously, the guys, take their mask off and just like jump in the ring and beat down, American made. It's like, all right, this was just like, we needed this for the women, in the group and
Yeah.
specifically Nikki. That's kind of how I figure it and like why the match got, like you said, it went for a little bit before Nikki jumps in.
I
And
mean, I thought it was dope too when the lights went out and Ivy was like in the ring by herself and they had the
great
spotlight.
acting. Great
Yeah,
acting
I
by
was
her.
like,
Yeah.
you knew in her face, like you knew immediately. She's like, "Oh, damn, I
Yeah.
messed up." So,
Because that's why I'm
um,
glad that it was just Nikki. Because that's why I say
mhm,
specifically that it must have been for her. Because you don't need like all the guys coming down and think
yeah,
about how like Uncle Howdy's not necessarily a face character. Definitely, he's not a good guy. But I still don't think he'd be like menacing a tiny, 140-pound woman. Like maybe she's 140 pounds. I don't even think she's that much, but she can be athletic. But it's like, bruh, you don't need all the cannons with you. You know what I'm saying? To
yeah.
come like mess with this girl. So just send Nikki, and Nikki will fuck him up, or Abby, I should say.
But yeah. Again, I'm mid rising on that. So those are my mids for this week.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, the last thing I had was just the continuation of the Judgment Day story.
Mhm.
Like, and really just the beatdown after this is the first time that they got to stand tall, what's coming to blows. And it's interesting because it's still believable, now that like I think well, Damien's had the world championship and Rhea's obviously like, you can argue what top three woman in the company, if not
Yeah.
number one. Um, that it felt very real, like the need for all five of them, like to beat them down because Damien is like definitely the biggest, and even assisting Liv because I mean we always know that even in the women's division, Liv and Rhea are in two different weight classes, but they work so well together that I love like I think that might have been like I want to like knee jerk and say like her best Oblivion, but obviously she just defended the title and like hit it on a chair. So
Yeah.
but she's really good at that, like rolling through and posing after that. So I love that fucking shot of her after an Oblivion. But yeah, uh, coup de grace to Damien, frog splash or a prone held down, frog splash. I was like, oh yeah, it was thorough, classic beatdown. So
Yeah.
all the more
Visual at
reason
the
why
end
I
was
believe,
nice too.
yeah, just leading to that visual where I said, I think it's all the more reason why, at least right now, I think that Damien and Rhea are going to win. But
Mhm.
then again, they already got like, the numbers for a gang. You know what I'm saying? So of course,
Yeah.
Finn's gonna interfere in that match and just fuck with, Damien forever. He said that's his mission statement basically
Yeah,
for his
they're the
character.
Terror Twins. They got the size. That's
Yeah.
the one thing though.
Yeah.
They got the numbers, but they got the size, so it's kind of a give
Yeah.
and
That's
take.
why it worked for me. That's what I was trying to, yeah, just that simplicity of it was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because even Carlito was the biggest guy there. But
Yeah.
in my fan knowledge, I can be like, yeah, but he's old.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he's like out of his prime. Like, that backstabber ain't hitting exactly the
Right?
same. You know what I'm saying?
Kick him in
So
his knee. That dude is out for fucking 6 months.
exactly. So, but yeah,
Oh,
still like
I
Judgment Day. Still like that.
I guess I'll add this at my shake, but CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, they got a strap match for
Oh
best
yeah,
ever.
that's right.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, it's only the well, yeah. It's only the logical progression because I feel like I didn't see him Punk hit him with a belt like last week or something like that, or somebody got hit with a belt last week.
Probably CM
But
Punk. Yeah.
yeah. And so it makes sense, okay, yeah, it comes to the strap match because it's like that's like the one that I associate with like Cody mostly because that was his dad's match. Like Cody's fucking strap matches are I don't know, I felt like they weren't that common growing up. Like the only one I like really remember, and it technically wasn't a strap match, but it was the same damn rules, was the Eddie Guerrero and JBL, that Texas bull rope match.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had
The Rock
like,
used
or
to
the
have some as
cowbell. The
well.
cowbell was in the middle of it, and they were using the cowbell as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing. But yeah, with
I'm sure The
Cody,
Rock
like,
had a couple strap matches back in like that.
yeah, okay, but yeah, I just don't remember them that commonly, especially for like, because there's characters that have their signature match. That's Cody's signature, match.
Hmm.
So, uh, but as far as I personally, I didn't need it to be a strap match, but we know how feuds go. We know they progress.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a stipulation next. But sure, be innovative. Like, don't let each other out of each other's, like 10 foot of reach or 6 feet of reach. Y'all been wanting to get your hands on each other for so long. Like, all right, y'all right here, square up. Or this is the equivalent. What they should do is just get the phone booth. Get the phone booth boxing. You seen that shit? That viral shit they
Yeah.
doing over there in
Yeah.
England?
Yeah.
Just let them do the phone booth boxing and just let them go at it. But yeah,
Hey, most thing
makes
you got a phone
sense.
booth is either a cage or a Hell in a Cell. That's it. Bad
Yeah,
Blood is not too far away, and I could see this match ending in like some type of in conclusion
yeah.
that requires it to get a third match. It'd be is this their third match or their second match? Or
Their second match. Remember, SummerSlam was the first time
I'm saying
Punk
like
even
yeah,
wrestled.
is this their no? Is this their first match? Yeah, SummerSlam. They fought at SummerSlam,
Hmm.
and Drew won that.
Yeah,
And yeah, so this is their second. So if CM
this is
Punk
their
wins this,
second.
you have to have the rubber match. And I guess the
Exactly.
rubber match would happen at Bad Blood. So interesting. But we got another week to iron out our predictions for that. But I to your point, I do like the fact that like last week we had a Texas Tornado match and a 2 out of 3 falls match, and now we're getting a strap match, and it's like, hey, match variety. You know,
Exactly.
like I'm all for it. So I'm glad that we're getting back into the bag of just having just diverse match types and not just six mans and tag teams and stuff
Yeah, for sure.
of that nature. So
Like I want those matches that I had back in like, SmackDown versus Raw 2008 and shit. Like when you just had, I don't know what, or it wasn't even that one. It was like, I think it was Raw, like WWE Raw. I remember that. Like when the Xbox first came out,
mhm.
like that had the 3 stages of hell match in it. It just had all variations. You know what I'm saying? It had all the weapons. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's move over next door to the Bodega NXT, and I'll let you start off.
But yeah, me, for the primo that I had, best thing that happened on this show is Joe Hendry is now the number 1 contender for the NXT title. And the thing that I loved about this, like the explanation, like from Ethan Page, was basically very similar to like what we've had conversations about before, like when you said, "Man, you can't just let like somebody from a different company come and win your championship." You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's exactly what Ethan Page said. He was like, "I'm not going to let some outsider, you know, come in here." But of course, the match goes exactly how he doesn't want it to go. And granted, like you said, this has been a tough week for Pete Dunne.
Yeah,
But as the match was happening, I called it out before it happened
yeah.
because just like there's got to be a trick shot coming here, like in this match for sure. Because I was like, there's no way in hell that you're gonna fuck with Trick and he ain't gonna get his lick back, obviously, because that's in his character. But for him to get hit with that trick shot, and I just thought that was an awesome visual of like once again suspending disbelief. But Ethan Page, like similar how you were pissing off or you were pissed off about like Adam Pearce not doing anything
Yeah.
when Ethan Page was just had his hands on the ref's shirt and he's like, no, 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 you're not going back in that ring. He's just like holding him back and he's like playing basically offensive guard, like
Yeah.
just keeping him on the ramp the whole time. And that went on for like a straight 45 seconds at least, I would estimate. Which is a pretty long
Referee's
time.
got to
Like
work on his rushing moves.
exactly, like you need to win the swim or like that
Like
stutter
rip,
step,
like come on,
the
spin,
rip,
something like
yeah.
that.
But yeah, but you see in the background like great production, because in the background of the shot, like in the foreground, you see, Ethan Page holding him there, but then you see Trick slide into the ring when Pete is actually calling for the ref because he has Joe Hendry down. But then you see, Trick Williams coming with that trick knee, and Joe Hendry steals the W, and Ethan Page stupidly is like, oh shit, like, and tries to break it up, but it's too late. 1, 2, 3. We all believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
And we booked that last week. He's gonna if he takes the NXT title back to TNA, whew,
Hey,
that
I'm for it. I'm
would be
ready for it.
wild.
I said I
Yeah.
think he can. They can have that War Games match, Team TNA versus NXT.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like if you get to War Games, you can have 3 War Games matches in one night.
Mm.
If it's a card match of 5 matches, 3 War Game matches, and then just 2 regular like championship matches.
The title matches, yeah.
Yeah, like you could do it. You could do it. But I haven't had the time to put this in the doc. I probably put this. Yeah, I put it out in primo with you because again, the match was done well. It is a tough week for Pete Dunne, but again, I think similar fashion. There's kind of a built-in excuse, right?
Hmm.
Like I said last with him losing to Sheamus, I'm like, all right, at least there's a real world circumstance as far as like why you lost this match because Sheamus is going to be in Dublin for like a public appearance.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I get that. You're gonna get your look back at Bash Everett Lynn. This, you got Trick, trying to get his lick back on you. And so, it makes sense. And I think, in both cases, Pete Dunne is going to be fine. This is a bad week for Pete Dunne
Yeah.
as far as character, but I think it's going to work out for him in the end. I do think Shirk is probably going to get the better end of this rivalry here, but I think on the main roster, Pete Dunne is going to make Sheamus break. I don't care. Like he's going to put a whip into Sheamus for
He
calling.
does need a submission. Like, I think that's what Pete Dunne needs. He needs a submission because, like, we can tell he is obviously very technically adept. Like, he loves the joint
Yeah.
manipulation and inflicting pain and all that stuff. So it's like, why don't you just finish it with? Because I mean, you can hit the bitter end on Sheamus once again, but we understand that he's got what 40 pounds on him. So
Yeah.
it's like, you can't necessarily hit that on everybody. But if you can, break somebody down, that feels like more in his character anyway. Like I feel like he can make a submission very vicious. So that's all he's
He's
needing.
like I say, he's probably gonna lose the war again with Trick, but he'll win the war against Sheamus. So
Mm.
I'll agree with you on the Joe Hendry. And again, I'm all for Joe Hendry winning the title.
But
But
no, that would be dope
yeah,
as shit,
when it's No
especially if they're
Mercy,
listening to us.
when it's
When's
No
oh,
Mercy,
I'm not sure.
it's probably
Let's look
next
it
week
up.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'll let you look
But the
that
other
up.
thing I would probably put up there, I'm kind of torn on it. I think honestly, I want to put it in Primo. I don't have it up there right now, but just a segment with uh Obafemi and the family.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Like, because even just the
yeah.
fact
You
that like
putting
he
that
comes
where
down all
Primo?
yeah, I was thinking that just because I love like the storytelling of that because he has had this rivalry with like Charlie Dempsey. Like Charlie Dempsey is like, in my opinion, he's like really well. Noam Dar established it. Like it's just gotten better. Like the crap. What's the title? I'm trying to think of them. They're the U.S. or the Heritage Cup.
Hmm.
Like Noam Dar establishing it, being like 4-time tournament winner, and like it's just gotten better and better. Honestly, like all the title holders of that, and like he's had this rivalry going with him and Tony D'Angelo, like over that, and it's like I love the fact that Tony's coming there like, nah, I'm done with this. Like, let's focus on something else. You know what I mean? I've already won that off of you twice, so just to have the next or the biggest baddest guy in NXT, the one that everybody says the most roster or main roster made already, Obafemi. Like that's a great visual, and that's like probably like the two biggest stars of that size, and I mean that two ways. Like that's literally they're both heavyweights, and it's very obvious. That's believable that they can do damage to each other because Obafemi is just like such a fucking unit. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like when it's him versus Wesley, you're like, all right, okay, we'll see. But Tony D'Angelo, like I said, he's fucking over with me. He hasn't won any singles titles except for the Heritage Cup. So I would love that. But even if he doesn't win, I think that could be like that could be an awesome rivalry to carry, NXT for the rest of this year.
definitely. I'm definitely there for the storyline. I'd probably put this in my shake just because I'm curious to see how it kind of builds on top of itself. But overall, I thought it was great. It was interesting. It was good to see like Obafemi kind of like take a bump the way he did from Tony D'Angelo because it was like
Hmm.
he was about to powerbomb him and then he just kind of spine busted him back and it's like okay, okay, but Oba's still got it. Oba still got it though. He's gonna get him at No Mercy. One thing I want to call out with Tony D'Angelo, he needs a better stylist because
What? That's the look,
his
bro. Like,
nah,
that's the look. That shit is
like
tailored, bro. He's doing that with
that
intention.
I no, that is some men's warehouse. Like he just peeled that shit off the rack. That shit is so corny. Like his outfit. So I'm gonna need him to like just get a better stylist. Like go, you got to like look. I don't want them to like. I get this kind of there's a theme going on with some of these groups when we talk about like the Bloodline or the God of Dem Fantasma, right? Um, they're very sharply dressed. That's all I want. I just want them to be as sharply dressed as those factions. That's all I'm
Mm.
saying. He's his budget is looking mighty slacking. Like it just feels like a caricature rather than like an actual like mafioso thing that you're getting across. It feels low budget. So again,
I
it's just the
mean,
wardrobe. It's just the wardrobe, not anything about the
yeah.
character. It's just the wardrobe. I'm gonna need them to maybe when he gets to the main, maybe when he starts getting main roster money, he might actually get him a decent
Yeah,
one.
right.
I
I
did have
mean,
Primo.
it,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
You
go
had
ahead.
your
No,
primo.
go ahead. If you
Oh, I
have
was
more,
just gonna say.
to Tony.
I just looked at because I was watching the clip again, like off to the left, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of Beetlejuicy. But I think if because he's such a big guy, he fills it out. So I think he just looks good, even though it's obnoxious. I just
Yeah.
think he looks good in it.
I just don't like the style. It's not even like how the cut of it.
Yeah,
It's just even the look of what he's wearing. I'm just like, ew.
yeah.
I do not like that. Um, but I did have Primo this week. Jada Parker winning the gauntlet to
Hmm.
face Roxanne Perez
Roxanne Perez. Yep.
for her the NXT championship, women's championship. Um, I'm glad she's getting this opportunity. This will be her first, is this her first champion title match
This is the first title match. Yeah.
in general? Like, because
I don't
she
think she's had
fought,
a one-on-one for the
yeah, she
North
hasn't had a
American.
one-on-one, right? Yeah,
She hasn't
so
had a
yeah,
one-on-one.
so yeah, this would be like her first title match. She's going against Roxanne. I don't think she's gonna win it, but I do think the fact that it's gonna be like, hey, this is gonna give you that opportunity to kind of solidify yourself as like, a championship contender and someone to be, obviously I think she is an automatic threat. But I do think it's gonna be like, all right, like you're gonna go in with Roxanne who can definitely get busy in the ring. That, you know, this is just gonna make Jada Parker just even a bigger star coming out of it. And the other reason I have this in Primo is like I thought honestly Sol Ruka was probably gonna win this. So there was a
Yeah.
bit of a surprise that not that big of a surprise, but I thought just Sol Ruka probably had like the slight advantage of winning this on like if I had betting odds. So Jada Parker winning this, I think she probably had the second best odds. But again, it's good to see that she's getting this opportunity. So that's my primo, and I'm looking forward to seeing Jada Parker and Roxanne Perez on the mic and for the next couple weeks.
Yeah. I really like the shot of her with, her faction members like out the mud. Like, because I
Mhm.
mean, they've been supporting her this whole time. And like, as she won this, I was just immediately a baby, just think of like Eminem, back in the day, Melina, Johnny Nitro, and
Yeah,
Joey Mercury.
yeah,
And they're granted the guys in that group were like tag team champions, had like a run, I'll say that. But to me, the superstar of that group was Melina. And I feel very similarly to like this situation when I look at them three, because I'm like, she, like you said, I agree. I don't think she'll win in her first title shot.
yeah,
However, I think she could be the one out of those three. Like, she will be the one to establish that group and like put them in our memory. You know what I'm saying? And like kind of bring the guys along. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Because like
That's,
out the mud, I mean, I like them
I
as a
get the
tag team. Granted,
Eminem
they're
comment.
still very generic, like outside of their look. Like outside of
Yeah,
their like, you can tell who they are when you look at them. But outside of that, they're just generic tag team, really. And they're lucky that they get vignettes and stuff like backstage
yeah.
because NXT is real good with like keeping people like in the rotation as like, oh yeah, don't forget about this person, or they might be on a web exclusive or some shit like that. So yeah, that's all my thought was. I'm a Jada Parker
I
fan for
think the
sure.
Eminem comparison. I get why you went with the Eminem comparison. I think it's a little unfair, uh,
To
because
who?
well, just in general, not I think it's not unfair, but I think it's a bit unfair. I'll explain it because Melina is probably the main person people thought of, but it was purely just for. I mean, she wasn't like she wasn't as good as she became in the ring eventually. And so it
True.
was a lot of
Yeah.
it was just sex. A lot of it was just sex appeal. But the other thing that I said it was also not fair is the fact that like they had John Morrison on there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's John Morrison and who's his partner? Joey
Jo-
Mercury. Like
Joey
they
Mercury.
both they both were like, especially John Morrison. It's like he's still killing it. So it's
Yeah, he's
like
still in AEW
is
now.
one of those dudes are is any one of those dudes on Out the Mud John Morrison?
I don't
That's
even
what I'm
know. Like I
saying.
said, they're
Like that's what I'm
generic.
like. It's a little it's a I get because they're a 3-person group, you know, guy tag team with the female lead. I'm just like, I don't know if it's the cleanest comparison, basically, is what I'm saying. But I
Sure.
get it. I get it.
Yeah,
But
that was the first 2 men, 1 woman that I thought of. So
I get it. But either way, I think Jada Parker is definitely gonna be someone. I mean, she already is, but it's a good look. It's a good look. It's gonna be interesting to see how, like, when they come up on the main roster. Do you think she comes up on the main roster by herself, or she comes up with Out the Mud?
she comes up by herself. Like I said, out the like Jada Parker's shown me in like what 3 months, like way more than they have, or 6 months, however long either one of them been here. Because the only storyline I can even remember Out the Mud being in was when they were like the third party in with the family. Like Tony D'Angelo paid Out the Mud to like take somebody out or something like that,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Okay. Let you go to your mid.
Oh yeah. I had this in mid because like I feel like I was missing something. This had the possibility of being primo, but Lola Vice beating Wendy Chu. Uh, I didn't see Wendy Chu take Kalani's title, so I guess like Kalani was just like I had it in my head that like oh she was just missing it basically, which that obviously doesn't make sense. But I was just like all right they didn't show it, so it's like all right who would have it. So I don't know how they got to that. I need to go back and like watch it and see like what the totality of that story on the episode was. But Lola Vice and Wendy Chu and their match, I just didn't see that coming. When Kaylani comes into the ring and like hits Wendy Chu with the pillow, it's a pillow. So Wendy obviously she did her job. Like she acted like she died, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" So it was. I thought that was very similarly to like we just mentioned like the Sheamus ripping his arm out of the turnbuckle
Yeah.
spot. I thought that was a better version of like WCW when Goldberg tried to spear Bret Hart and he had the iron plate under his shirt. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, hit him with a pillow, and it's like, oh, the title's in here. It's like, okay, so it made sense. So I like that spot. But yeah, that was really why I was in my mid, just for the visual of that. And that's like also the most badass, I guess, Kaylani has been so far as a face, going on the hunt, like I'm gonna get my title back. So she's roping me in. Like I said, I'm more and more of a fan every episode. So because
Yeah.
not to say I didn't support her winning the title, but I remember when you told her good luck. Like, yeah, you're the smallest woman in that division. Like, seriously, but
Like I said,
yeah,
for
so
me, with Kaylani, it's like she's so clean cut baby face that I'm just like, oh,
mhm,
like these girls are mean. Like
yeah,
Jada Parker's mean, so Ruka mean. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some, like that's what I'm like. Is I think it works. It's more so again character, right? It's like it's gonna definitely be like one of those fighting champions, but I think she's definitely gonna be able to pull it off. And so like I think she's a good seller. She's a good worker, so it works out well. That I'm like I think she's gonna be and so far, in my opinion, I think she's been a really strong initial women's, you know, North American champion. So, uh, it was cool too. Like she took an elbow from Lola Vice, right? That elbow from
oh
Lola
yeah,
Vice
she
on
took
accident too. So,
yeah.
and I saw that backpack stunner that you were telling me about yesterday too. So that was
Yeah,
really nice.
that was the like fuck.
Yeah,
Like I tell you that reaction, I was like, nah, she ate that stunner for real. I was like, that's a finisher. That's just even another variation of the stunner that I'm like, yeah, I believe that. I believe that
yeah.
completely.
So My mid for NXT, tension within Chase U. So we talked about this slightly last week after, you know, Ridge Holland and Andre Chase won the tag team championships last week. How the week before that, uh, Duke Hudson and I forget the other person's name. They were both kind of like, "Yo, like, I just gonna jump us for like the tag team championship match and stuff like that." But it's cool. We get it. We understand. But this week, I don't know if you saw that segment, but they basically Duke Hudson basically challenged Axiom and Nathan Frazier,
They, yeah,
and they said if you beat us, you get tag team championship shot at Andre Chase and Rich Holland. And if you watch it, they're like, "Yo, what, bro? How you gonna be speaking for us like that?"
yeah.
And so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Chase U and how that happens. Who I guess Andre Chase is going to claim the Chase U type name, but it's going to see that interesting split.
Yeah, it's funny because like you said, all right, what's going to happen with them? And I immediately, this is why I love NXT because it's such an indie show that you can get into the weeds of all those like weird ass like gimmick in the production of that. Because I want to immediately, my mind went to a segment when it's like he's at like he's at like financial aid or some shit, and it's like, sorry, your scholarship has been revoked from Trace U. They had to kick him out of the school because he's not paying his bill or some
He's on
shit.
academic
Like,
review, probation or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's on under academic review. Just, just make it part of the gimmick. I'll believe it. It'll be funny either way. It's like, hey, I'm the dean here. Like, nobody should be talking about Chase U unless it's Andre Chase. He's the founder of the university. Like, come on.
It said both him and Rich Holland were looking at Duke and what's the other dude's name?
Well, you said Duke Hudson or the other guy?
Hudson and the other guy. What's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name.
I don't know. Forgive us. Forgive us. We're fans.
And you're the one like, oh, 50 years of wrestling.
Hey, 50. I'm not even 50 years old. You a part of that 50 nigga, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm saying you do know. I'm saying you know exactly what we're talking about. You talking about whatever we were saying, but either way, that was my mid. That was my mid. So mid rising. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. So anything else from the bodega you
No,
wanted to pick up on?
no, I'm good.
All right, we'll move over to your favorite shop, the coffee shop. I'll let you lead Dynamite.
Well, we know All In is coming. We're gonna get talking about that later on. So, like, just like any go home show, it's more like a recap show. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, for me, everything is mid. The best of the mids was the Claudio and Okada because they actually had their Continental Championship match, which went to a time limit draw.
Yeah.
I'm all for a time limit draw, honestly, because it's like you can use that just as a story element of like just the simple fact that you can't beat me. You know what I mean? It's like getting it's because as far as being a champion and especially a heel champion like Okada, it's like winning by count out. You know what I'm saying? It's a step up from that. You know what I mean? So I really like that element of it. But yeah, fucking Claudio, never get tired of the big swing. Like they counted to like 20, like one of his longest he's ever done. It's just like, bruh, you guys so fucking strong. Like I know you know that already. It's like still just so impressive. You know what I'm saying? Every time you see it, it's like, bro, I know those fucking biceps be burning, like your triceps, like as you holding all that fucking centrifugal force.
Those workouts
Um,
probably sense.
oh yeah, I'm sure he must have like a workout with Sheamus, you know, on Sheamus's channel. I'm sure they got an
Oh yeah,
episode
they
together.
probably
I'm
do.
sure they definitely do. That it'll be insane, like kettlebells or some crazy
Yeah.
shit. He's probably like catching 50 pounds or something like that. Um, but
I
yeah,
have that as
near
mid rising as well. I thought that was really good. I'm not as big a fan as time draws as you, but I mean they don't happen enough that it's not like they bother me. You know what I'm saying? It
yeah,
just seems like at a certain point you're like, are we? If they're done well, they're done well. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
usually, you gotta see how dramatic it ends. to kind of
Hmm.
feel like the payoff was worth it. So, I mean, and obviously they're both like great workers as well. So again, yeah, it was a great match overall.
Oh yeah, and Okada did lean into his like the real heel that he is now because like his signature Rainmaker pose. Like he had Claudio down in the middle of the ring, like basically people's elbow position,
Mhm.
and he does the but then just lifts up a middle finger at the camera instead of doing Rainmaker pose. And I was like, God damn, I fell for it. Like I full on fell for that. And I was like, damn it, I'm such a fucking mark.
Yeah,
MJF would call me a mark. But yeah, great match. Mercedes and Britt contract signing, which uh went the way all contract signings do. So
yeah,
Camille, the Brick House, I'll say she looked real good out there for sure. Um, Still very imposing though. I was just like, it's kind of similar to the way that it's like, I don't know, I guess it was just a production of AEW, or like I don't know how I got tricked in my mind that like Jade is 6'2". I told you before, like that was just my thought in my head, or she was like 6 feet tall. But I'm wondering if the same effect is happening with Camille because I don't know how tall she is, but obviously she looks huge
yeah,
standing next to Sasha. So
exactly.
it's like I don't know how big she is, but
And
right
then you put her
now
next
I'm
to Brit. It's like that doesn't help me get context.
exactly. So, but yeah, with the way all contract signings do, I can't put my hands on you, but I can put my hands on her, diving crossbody across the table to both of them. So had Brit standing strong at the end of that.
Yeah.
What you think about
I,
it?
uh, I didn't have this anywhere. This if it fell anything like I said, it's standard contract. Um,
Yeah.
it didn't really affect me. Like I think this is still the early stages of this overall storyline between Britt and Mercedes, and now with Camille. That
Hmm.
I don't think Britt. I guess early prediction. I don't think Britt's winning tonight, but I do
Yeah.
think there is. I think there is a little bit of a Cody Rhodes ness with Britt that could happen,
Hmm.
and
I'd love to see her overcome it for sure, if it's possible. But I
I
don't
think
think
like
she would
that's
be
actually
either.
I think she can have like a Cody Rhodes, not exactly like Cody, but
Hmm.
a Cody Rhodes esque storyline to winning the women's AEW Women's Championship.
Yeah, especially
So
with her being like the first AEW woman. It's like, yeah,
exactly. So I think it's a little early, but so we'll come back into this in a couple months, or if everything the way I'm thinking how it plays out this tonight works out this weekend, you know, we'll see how this storyline plays out in the next couple months. But it's standard for itself. I did
yeah,
have MJF Will Ospreay as face to face was as one of my mid risings as well. I think it was again pretty standard confrontation, but I do think there were some good bars thrown back and forth between the two that kind of get you anticipated for the match coming up this weekend. And then the other mid that I had this week was the other promo between Swerve cut
yeah,
to Daniel Bryan. I thought that was also done really well as well. So yeah, there's a lot of good, last minute, tie ups, not tie ups, but bow tying of what's to come for All In this weekend. So that was pretty my call outs for from the coffee shop.
yeah, for sure. Like I said, it was MJF and Osprey. Obviously, they've already been like so hot as a feud that I would have to keep it at like mid, like steady,
Yeah.
sideways arrow, because this is just where they operate at already. And like you said, with like the heavy hitting bars, it's like that's MJF's thing. MJF's is already hitting you with 5-star bars basically every week because he's so good on the mic, and that's just his thing. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, just like the last one of like, oh yeah, talk to your wife, and like that next child you have probably ain't gonna be yours or whatever. I was just like, God damn.
Again,
That's to be expected. That's to be expected from MJF. So that's why
I
it's just
think I
steady for
think
me.
if AEW like I think they just it feels overly dramatic when because they use it that bit of I've said it before, and again it's kind of same thing we were just talking about with NXT. A lot of just feels network television
Hmm.
storyline, and I'm like, I need the cable. You know what I'm saying? Like I needed to be a little
Mhm.
bit more refined and polished. Or because it feels like they keep going back to the same bag. It's like, oh, you're family, you're a deadbeat. Oh, I'm willing to die for this. It's like everything sounds so over the top at this point. It's just like, who do you believe at? Who do you believe? That's where I'm like, there's got to be some better motivation than just being like, I'm going. Are you prepared to die for this? Oh, what is your family gonna think? It's like, okay, it's just almost feels to me like a form of cheap pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
again,
yeah,
not
yeah, that's
this is
why.
not exclusive to AEW. WWE
Mhm.
does it. I just think like AEW kind of sticks to that same bag of tricks a little too much for a lot of their characters. Because like Christian does it, MJF does it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, like, the cursing, it's like, "Alright, cool, like, you said a bad word, okay."
Mhm.
Like, eh, that's my palate. It's my palate. I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I could agree with that, and I would give honestly 50% of that to MJF because, like I said, it's just like that's how he operates, and it's like,
They
yeah, you
all
don't
do
need
it.
that
Swerve
every
does
fuck.
it, Daniel
No,
Bryan does
I
it,
know.
like
I'm saying as far as dominating, as far as just like fucking, I don't think any of the things that like Swerve has said, like, not to say he's
Tony
not good on the
Storm
mic,
said
but I
it.
mean, like, huh?
They all do it, like, Tony Storm's like, "I'm willing to die for this," and it's like, "Come on."
Well, yeah, that's a different character. I'm talking about like when you're talking about like like the old school, what would be below the belt type of bars. That's like MJF's whole thing.
I'm
But
not even talking about
I
below the
mean,
belt, I'm just
at
talking
least
about, like,
Swerve.
all this hyperbole of, like, there's a lot of just, like, over the topness that is just
Yeah,
like
well,
it doesn't
what do
feel
you?
anything
This is
doesn't it
professional
doesn't
wrestling. Over the top.
okay, does everybody need to be so over the top in their emotions? That's all I'm saying.
Hey,
Like, is
if
there
this is your passion, and
why do we like Triple H? He's a cerebral assassin.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that dude is methodical. You know what I'm saying? Like, so is there anybody methodical or is everybody just off the hinges? Adam
Swerve is
Page,
the
off the
closest to
hinge.
that.
Huh?
Swerve is the closest to that for sure. He's not unhinged. He's violent. He's not unhinged.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Swerve
but
is very under
even in the
control. He is
dialogue,
very like that.
even
He
in the
is not.
dialogue, even in the
He is very
dialogue, it just
restrained.
feels it okay, he's not as bad, but he still kind of leans into that way where it just feels I'm like a lot of this just feels very hyperbole.
Bad writing. Yeah.
I
Just
wouldn't say
tired
a
of
bad
like.
writing. It's not I wouldn't say it's bad writing. It's just again, when it happens all the time, it feels it loses its weight. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
Of
Like
course.
if you
Yeah.
weren't getting it across the entire show from multiple different, entertainers, it wouldn't feel as bad. But when it's literally everybody on the show, it's just like, okay, like it you don't it doesn't have the same weight to it.
Gravitas. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
what you mean. I know what
So
you're
that's all
saying.
I'm saying. It's just like it just feels a little bit we're lacking a diversity in emotions is basically
And I
what I'm
think
trying to say.
I would disagree and say I think you're lumping too many characters together, but I agree that some of the I like I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying for sure. That it's like, yeah, if you keep on using the same shit over and over, then it's like, bro, I'm not coming here for this just like bar of the week. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
like just,
Father jokes.
bloody
Your
spot
dad's
of the
dead.
week, or
Yeah.
bloody spot of the week. Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Like you got to have a reason to bleed, like a real one, not just fucking
Yeah.
take a random pile driver and now you're bleeding.
Someone's
So
bleeding every week on AEW. It's like, really? So I'll leave my
yeah,
that's my AEW discourse. I'll let you finish it
that's
out.
all I had. That's all I had. Let's get to the book of wrestling.
Oh, there's a little bit of news. I didn't write it down, but
Oh,
one
is
bit, I
there?
guess.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know how official it is, but Ricochet apparently has signed a multi-year contract with AEW, according to Sean Ross Sapp. So maybe we might see him this weekend.
Hmm.
Who knows? But just wanted to just call that out because Ricochet has not been on television since he died
Yeah,
on
since
Raw.
Braun Breaker killed him. Since
Yeah.
Braun
So
Breaker killed him on top of that
no, he
car.
didn't kill him. He threw up a thumbs up, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yes, nonetheless, let's move forward and get to the book of wrestling as I try to find my mouse and then click on the scene. And we got a few part of AEW.
You're not coming through.
Making good time. Am I not coming through?
Now you are. Okay, or maybe you weren't talking loud enough.
I mean, again, it's a lot of the equalizing. Probably that's what it is. So
Yeah.
turned it down, pause it. I was saying we got not a lot of stuff, but we're making good time on this podcast that we might even finish early if I stop rambling. So let's get into the book of wrestling. Moody, did you want to take one? Particularly,
Sure. Yeah. I
anyone?
mean, yeah, just the first one I see up here, man, CM Punk debuting, or I said debuting? What does that mean? Debuting in AEW. That was 3 years ago. August 20th.
That is something that I'm like, man, that 3 years ago, that felt like what? Last year, 2 years? I don't know, but
Right?
it doesn't feel like 3 years ago. I had to double check that when I was putting that in the doc. That was like, was it 3 years ago? So
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And the pop, I remember watching it. I was like, the pop of that was probably the loudest pop I heard in AEW. That probably
Yeah,
ever.
right.
So
And then I remember
crazy how time flies, and now this dude is on WWE television again. So
back in the ring again. Hell yeah. Love to see it.
not even back in the ring, back on WWE television. I'll pick up on the next one. Well, I'll leave that one for you because I know that's your special one. I'll skip a couple days. We'll go into wow. Gotta be faster than this. Oh yeah, I'll do this. October. Oh yeah. Um, August 24th, 1999. The first episode of SmackDown debuts on the UPN. So
I miss UPN.
yeah, it said WWE taped the first episode of SmackDown in Kemper Arena, Kansas City, after the successful pilot episode 4 months earlier. That's in like April. The first weekly show began airing on UPN later that week, and the show was headlined by Triple H defeating The Rock after interference from special referee Shawn Michaels. And this was, I remember, Shawn Michaels was Rock was doing the people's elbow, came off the second rope, sweet chin music. And then Shawn Michaels, did his little dance and everybody was tight. So shout out to SmackDown. Great show. One of my favorite shows. So that happened almost 34 years ago? No, 35 years ago. No, 25 years
Well,
ago.
25. Yeah, I was like, you're
25
trying
years
to put us in our 40s already.
I'll let you pick up the other one.
Mm. Yeah. Man, this day, just last year, this is the 1 year anniversary of Bray Wyatt's passing, which is nuts to think about. Just prior to starting the pod, when we were putting this together and you brought that up, I'm just like, man, that's one of those deaths that it's like, it feels like, I don't know, it's been 2 or 3 years because his presence is so felt like lost in, creatively, and like one of the best creative minds ever. And like, it's just awesome to see that, like, in a very like literal way, like his brother and family is like just picking up his mantle and running with it, and it's better than ever. So
Spirit is still there too in that lantern.
yeah, exactly. And I really feel like, I mean, that there's something to that where I feel like that is the six, in six, and it's supposed to be Bray.
Hmm.
I think that's just what it is. Like, it's just those five. But
Yeah, I mean, I saw something when we got back that there was an Alexa Bliss teaser.
mm,
I didn't watch it, but I saw like a picture of like
I haven't watched
something
it
like
either.
Alexa Bliss, something Alexa Bliss related. I don't know if it was on television or she just posted on her social media. So maybe Alexa Bliss might be associated with this as well. She was also friends with Nikki Cross on television, so they had a
Hmm.
relationship. So, but yeah, man, Bray Wyatt passing a year ago, like we talked about, like it just doesn't seem like that this like that like a year ago. Damn, like it's crazy. So much has happened, and it's crazy to see like the Wyatt Six back and doing what they're doing and how they're doing it. So RIP Bray Wyatt. You will definitely be missed for a while, for a long time. So I will move on to the next thing that we have in the book of wrestling, and I'm again not trying to give you. I'm not trying to take away your shine, Moody. So I'm gonna go with the one that I specifically put in for myself was on August 25th, 2002. Brock Lesnar beats The Rock to win his first WWE Heavyweight Championship. And
Hmm.
this is, read what it says. It took place in Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. The event, Brock became the youngest WWE champion of all time when he defeated The Rock just a month after his 25th debut and less than 6 months after his WWE debut. And so this one was crazy because I remember this is the first ever pay per view that I ever like saw like legally, like
Legally,
well, I've never like illegally watched it more than like back in the day you had the pay per view channel
of
and
course, yeah.
and you could watch it scrambled, and every once in a
Hmm.
while the picture would kind of like line up, but that's how I meant like if I was watching it.
Yeah.
So this is when I'm like, oh, I can actually see the pay per view, and like I actually paid for it, and so Rock's fucking pay per view. This is the last one before everybody knew that he was leaving to go to Hollywood, so he was getting booed. It's crazy. I was surprised because I'm 12 years old watching this, and I'm like, yo, man, like, why y'all booing The Rock? The Rock is supposed to be the good guy in this situation, but everybody was hyped that that dude was getting F5'd and lost and everything like that. So iconic day in wrestling history. Brock Lesnar winning his first title, and in a way that, like, again, judging by the crowd, like you'd be surprised that like why are people so like again people that don't have the context like living in that moment. You'd be like, why is everyone so hyped that Brock Lesnar beat The Rock? I thought Brock was
Hmm.
that guy, but that's where people were like, "Yo, man, Rock, you leaving us, bro."
Now,
But he
also, if
came
I
back
remember correctly,
and became
prob-
Hollywood.
yeah, he came back. But also, if I remember correctly, probably one of the best F5s ever is in this because I think it
Mhm.
was so smooth. Like the one when, because I
Rock
think
man.
The Rock was trying to Irish whip him, but they end up like he reverses the Irish whip, but he like ducks under the arm. So it kind of looks like almost like when you like when you twist a woman as you're dancing, kind of
Mhm.
like Brock twists himself, hangs on to The Rock, and then lifts him up because The Rock was trying to get off of him. But I was just like, I don't know if you know the exact F5 I'm talking about,
I think
but
I do. Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing that how smooth that transition is into the 1, 2, 3. I'm pretty sure that is at the end of this match, but yeah, you're right. Started one of the greatest like real sports combatants or like combat sports athletes in the
Yeah.
Western Hemisphere, Brock Lesnar.
You
Yeah,
can't say that because Ken
why
Shamrock has
not?
been around. Because Ken Shamrock, you were totally dismissing the entire UFC that happened since
I'm
like
not.
93.
I'm not dismissing him. I'm not. He's a former UFC heavyweight champion.
After
Brock
the
Lesnar
fact,
is.
not
Yeah,
not
I
in
know.
2002.
I know. I said it launched one of the best careers. Like
Oh, I
that's
thought you
what I
talking about
said.
like.
No,
I thought you
I'm
talking
talking
about something
about
about
him in
like
a
he was
nutshell
like
now, as we know
okay.
him. No,
I thought you were talking about like
uh,
he was a pioneer of like
no, bro. Come on, I'm not
combat
an idiot.
fighting.
Come
I'm like,
on, come on. See, you're insulting me now.
I also
But
wanted to
anyway, the
add that
last
on that
one.
pay-per-view. I also
Oh,
wanted to add on
good.
that pay-per-view, I believe Shawn Michaels came back after like a long, retirement because of back issues, and he fought Triple H in a street fight at this pay-per-view as well. So that was an iconic match that people should go back and rewatch as well. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in a street fight. That was a good rivalry that was going on because that's like Shawn just came back. It
Yeah, I
was Shawn's
hate.
first match back. Sorry.
No, you're right. I was just gonna say, just to add to your street fight, I just hate how like the uniform of street fights is always jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah. And
Like
that's what we wore.
everybody's wearing the same shit. Like everybody's wearing the same thing. Like
Yeah.
nobody has any originality, but whatever. The last entrant on the Book of Wrestling, I wouldn't have been mad. Like you said, you saved it for me, but I don't care. But yeah, this is the Black and Gold era NXT, which is the best NXT. The Bailey and Sasha Takeover Brooklyn Iron Woman match, probably the greatest women's match ever. I mean, I'm sure it's definitely gonna. If you make a like a March Madness bracket of like the best women's matches ever, I guarantee you this is a number one seed in one of the 4 brackets for sure. But it's already entered a legendary status. Bailey, the hugger, overcomes Sasha the heel, like one of the best heels we've ever seen, like in NXT, like as far as NXT women for sure, making kids cry and shit. Anytime you make kids cry, you're already like a 5-star heel. Like going up to kids and like ripping bows out of their hair or like ripping their signs up. Like, come on. Like Sasha was in her bag as like boss Sasha at that point in time. But thank God for that, and thank God for women's wrestling nowadays. And that it's not just bra and panties matches and like mud wrestling matches, like anything for like Vince to get his rocks off. Clearly,
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I saw a clip of the Diva Search contest,
hmm
kind of starting off and whatnot, and like Coach was in the ring, and then eventually The Rock made his way to the ring, but it had like Maria Canales and a couple other women in the ring, and like I'm like, yo, man, this is wild, B. Like you got these 6 random ass women, because obviously like Maria is not anybody at this time. She's literally just like a regular person,
yeah,
you know? And it's just like you got these 6 like just like aspiring actresses, models, whoever they are, in this ring just in their bikinis. For what reason? Like what does that have to do anything with just being a WWE wrestler, a superstar? It doesn't. It's just like good,
hey,
good,
the job
good thing
description is
that
set up by the
we
boss.
progressed as a society. That's what I'm like, bro. This is not. That's why I get to that argument. I'm like, yo, I get it's cool to see our old stuff, sometime to be nostalgic. But man, it is 2024, about to be 2025. We don't need to be living like it's 2002, 1999,
hmm
1994, 1987. You got to move forward. And so I'm glad that we're in the spot that we are today. Because I mean, it's wild. It's wild. But any other things you wanted to add for before we head over to the boutique?
Nah. This is our first in person boutique, though, as we mentioned
First
before, being
person.
actually at the show. That was fun.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep on talking. I'll let you go.
Well, yeah, I already know. My primo, like I said, this week was a very I think it was a very like that episode was a very missable episode of SmackDown, but definitely the primo of this week was the great video package that Grayson Waller
Yeah.
put together, showing the history of KO betraying his friends in the first segment of the Grayson Waller effect. I thought that was awesome. And even just having like that little joke in there of like Sami Zayn 1 and then Sami Zayn 7, and it's like, yep, again. Like I remember leaning over to you and saying that at that point in time, like that was hilarious. Just perfect. It's like, yeah, it's in his nature. It's like that story of like, or the fable of like the scorpion and the frog that
Yeah.
everybody's heard. Why did I sting you? Because it's in my nature. Like, it's coming. He'll pop up power bomb Cody onto the apron eventually. He just gotta, be in his orbit a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
Just let it simmer in the pot. Go ahead and do like the Triple H long term simmer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I definitely agree with you that this was definitely a primo.
That was the best thing on the show, in my opinion.
It was hilarious. I remember we were watching it. I was like, "Oh, you think they're gonna talk about? They got to bring up Jericho?" And it's like, with the whole.
I said they
AEW
better. They better.
Show enough. Right after they brought up Jericho, and so I was like, everybody in the crowd was like, "Oh!" So, it's good to see that they're not, old era with it and being like, "No, you can't put old, people out on another company." It's like, nah, like even Ricochet was in a Braun Breaker video package. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, we're smart. We're smart enough to understand that like still stuff happened that is still relevant, to history. The Sammy part was great. And then, even getting into the actual match between, the tag team match that ended up happening. I don't know if it came across on TV, but Kevin held the title in his hand for a good minute and
Yeah.
threatened. It looked like he was going to, smack Cody Rhodes with this belt. And so again, it is in Kevin's nature. We talk about Kevin being the only person that actually watches the program and like actually does like actually has tape and has a memory. So if Cody doesn't see it coming, he has no one to blame.
Yeah, especially after getting like a
The
full
same way
warning.
like Grayson Waller, not Grayson Waller, Austin
Austin
Theory
Theory. Yeah.
has no one to blame. Like I said, I have no sympathy. Cody tried to give it to him. He's like, bro, everybody sees that he doesn't care about you, and we're all just waiting for you to wake up. I'm like, even if he wakes up, he's not going to be a face to me because you've just been such a dumbass for so long that it's unforgivable. Sorry, Austin Theory. You missed your boat. You missed your boat with me on the sympathy train. So, overall, it's an interesting dynamic. I hope they. And one way we were talking about and with Kofi and Xavier splitting up, I hope it's not as straightforward as it is, and it's a little bit more complex. I hope this is as straightforward as you dumbass Cody Rhodes. How did you not know that this man was going to turn on you?
I mean, honestly, I could see like a situation where Solo wins because KO interferes. Like, because I think Cody is right now, he's in his he still feels indestructible to me as a face. Like, at least as far as being champion and everything. Not to say that he can't. Actually, yeah, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying he can't lose right now. He still feels that way to me. At least, with Solo losing at SummerSlam, because obviously Roman fucked that up. That would have been the closest thing. But still, I feel like okay, you can have a year of Cody. You know what I'm saying? If KO decides to pop out at WrestleMania and fuck shit up because he's pissed off because you've been waving this title belt in front of his face this entire time, like you said, you can't have any sympathy for him at that point in time. It will suck that it's at Mania, obviously, but I mean, you can't predict when some fuck shit's gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
And also, I want to point out that we were looking at the back of their heads, like we were seated on the or across from the hard cam side. So after watching the clip again, I didn't see we were looking at the back of Austin Theory's head, but yeah, when Cody said that, it did affect him. Like, oh man, is he using me? Granted, he's been doing that for a while, but I'm just pointing out that it's all right, maybe he's actually thinking about it now because he wasn't even letting that thought into his head previously that Grayson Waller was using him. So hopefully we can get Austin doing something about it, like Cody said. We're all just waiting for him. So
yeah. Let you continue on your card. On your pick.
Next we had the 6-woman tag, which this mid. The Unholy Union and Blair Davenport.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus Naomi and Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And MVP of the match, I know I said at that point in time, we're just repeating all the stuff that we said at the show. Clearly, that's what was happening. But yeah, Naomi was MVP for me of the match. I will say that's probably one of the best hot tags that Jade has got in a while. I love the fall away slam into another individual. She threw Isla Dawn into Alba Fire in a fall away slam, kip up,
that was really
slam.
Dope.
Yeah, choke slam into Blair Davenport. It was just and I'm glad that the choke slam is part of her moveset because when she I don't know if she has done that before? On WWE? Okay. I don't know if she was using the choke slam already, but she's just big enough, at least as far as women's division is concerned, for it to be believable. As far as physique wise. So I'm really glad that's part of her moveset. It'd be dope
to see her hit that choke slam on someone like Nia.
Yeah, that'd be.
I don't think it would work, but
yeah. Hey,
Nia or Rhea, somebody her equivalent, even Bianca. It'd be interesting to see somebody of her of a bigger stature for her to hit that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
she needs
She can hit it on Bianca. I think she can hit it on the women her size, but like I said, if you bring it up to Piper and Nia, I don't doubt you, Jade, but I'm just saying maybe if 5 more slots in that set.
Maybe she's doing it off the top rope.
There you go. Yeah, that's how you get it off for sure.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
do a
Like,
top rope like
maybe
prone.
she
They're like
catches
knocked out on
Naya
the
before,
corner.
maybe Naya's set up for like, like a bonsai drop.
Hmm.
And then Jade kind of like, gets up and then, choke slams her off the second rope. So like she's
Oh yeah.
already in an elevated position that
Hmm.
you just gotta like finish her off at that point.
No, I like that. I like that. But yeah, Naomi, she came in with her hot tag was great.
Yep.
Uh, which
Got the
also I
perfect
will say
angle
like
for her catching her to win the win of just like
yeah,
her
we
doing
did.
the
That was
springboard off the corner of the rope.
no, that was awesome. Which I don't think she's even named that. Like I know she like names like what is it? The not the hip check. When is it? What does she call her hip check? I don't know. And Jada Parker calls it hypnotic.
Yeah.
And that's her finisher. And I'm like, you know, Naomi was using that way before also. And I'm just trying to remember because I know she
Yeah.
was using that as a finisher, but she needs to name that split leg moonsault thing. Like, been doing it for a while. So,
Yeah.
um,
Um
but yeah,
yeah, but
I enjoyed the match.
same here, same here. We dapped up right after the win happened, and we were really excited that Naomi actually got the pin. And I
Yeah.
think it's indicative because we found out later in the show that Bianca and Jade will be fighting for the championships against Unholy Union at Bash of Berlin. And so you would think, okay, like, what does that mean for Naomi? Because basically, it seems like they kind of got that title match off that win. So, there is rumor that a women's mid card title will be coming to the main roster fairly soon. That we've talked about Naomi needing to get a little bit more respect. She's been taking a lot of L's this year. And when I'm like, why did you come back if you're just going to keep taking L's? That
Hmm.
maybe this is the early seeds of Naomi becoming the first mid card women's wrestling champion on the main roster.
And I ain't mad at that at all. I think that's a great pick for it too, especially knowing like the work that she's already put in and like how skilled she still is in the ring.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, this is like, I don't want to make it sound like a consolation prize because, she's obviously won the SmackDown women's title and like women's championships before. But yeah, it's like, you're more than due. So it's like, if you're not going to give her like a mania moment, then give her a history making moment. You know what I'm saying? So I like that as an option for sure.
I would look at it as like the Seth Rollins of the women's division. It's
Seth
like,
Rollins.
in a sense, like, it's like
So that's
Seth
your number
obviously
one
should have
wrestler in
been,
the world. So that's what I
Seth
was
should have
thinking.
been, having the World Heavyweight Championship. Not the Heavyweight Championship, but like the WWE Championship, like the one that Roman had, right? But it's like, all right, for business reasons, we got to keep it on Roman. That's why they created the other title belt. And then they gave it to Seth first because, like, yo, bro, like, you've done so much. And so,
Hmm.
like, we'll allow you to be the first one. And then we'll allow you to, like, cement the actual history of the title. So that's where I don't even see it as a consolation like championship. It's more of like you are setting the standard and the legacy for what this championship will be for WWE history. So that's why
Yeah.
how I kind of see that's where my comparison of like if Naomi was to win this mid card title, and it's kind of the same thing what Kalani's doing right now, right? It's like being the initial inaugural champion, you're establishing the legacy of how this title should be defended.
Hmm.
So I could see Naomi being like the longest reigning defending women's, United States champion or whatever title like she holds up as a mid card. But that's kind of how I kind of maybe that's where my comparison to her and Seth Rollins comes to be, as far as like the respect, as far as like what they are and their, as far as their work and how they're able to just kind of go out there and be professional and put on a good show and stuff like that. But not always having to take the back seat because somebody else is due at this moment. And you're just being a good company person. So that's kind of where my comparison is.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Naomi pick, but as we were talking about, I'm not going to beat this to death, but like the only reason maybe not is because she did go to TNA as Trinity, and the only person that I could think that's like more of a vet than her is obviously Natalia.
Yeah.
So that would be a good one too. But yeah, that's
Gotta
all I
move
had to say.
Natalia to like Raw. and so she'll
Yeah.
win the Intercontinental.
Hmm. Um. Oh yeah,
I'll
we
I'll
got.
I'll, I'll go into
Oh, go
one
ahead.
of my mids that I had was LA Knight and Santos.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good overall match. Clean, crowd was really hot for LA Knight. The move sets was looking good, and hometown kid went to defend the title at home and win. So shout out to LA Knight and Santos for putting out a great match. And obviously, there's obviously hilarious comedic things in it because it was just like so again so over the top when we talk about just like network writing. This was network
Hmm.
writing television match to have like Legado de Fantasma like interfere and then just be blatantly shocked, be like, "What? How? How Sway? Like, excuse me,
Yeah.
Alexa Lopez. And what sport can you touch the ref
You
and
can
not
never
get
touch the
ejected?
ref.
And not get
Yeah.
ejected?" And she was startled, like, "How can you? Like, how?" But again, that's why we like wrestling.
Yeah.
Because they like very networkish that I'm like, oh man, like this is so corny, but it works because you're just outlandish. That's where it feels like this is a circus. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's where everything is not for us, and like we just got to know that as like smart fans. It's like that match is like for kids basically, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, but it's like in the kayfabe way. Like we said already, like you see that match, like us seeing that match like on the SmackDown card. It's like we know LA Knight's not losing that match.
Yeah.
But you put that spot of Legado del Fantasma in there beating him down because there is that 10-year-old that's like, no, LA Knight, like, what the hell? Because they don't know that, like, he got beaten down. He's at half health. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, that's what they're seeing. So it's like, oh, he was still able to pull out the win. That's what that's for. But obviously, he ain't losing that shit.
That's
We're
why I like
adults,
when
so.
they had the like the "you suck" chants to Santos, and I was like, come on, guys. He doesn't really suck. He's a quality wrestler here. So it's like give this man his respect. So
Yeah.
that was my mid for SmackDown.
Yeah. And the last thing that I had on here, or actually not the last thing. I'll get to my last thing. But
I wanted
oh
to
yeah,
call out one more
Bloodline.
thing with the
Oh,
Jade. I wanted to call one
okay.
more thing out with the Jade 6-man tag. Um, the outfits you had mentioned you like Naomi's outfit. I didn't realize this until I got back home. Actually, this morning. All
Hmm.
three, Jade, Bianca, and Naomi, all three of their outfits were inspired by Simone
The
Biles.
Olympics. Yeah.
Simone Biles outfits,
Yeah.
specifically. So that's
Oh,
where
okay.
I didn't realize that until this morning. So I just wanted to call that out. So shout out to them organizing and being creative in that sense.
That's fine because I didn't. I mean, that makes sense, obviously, as you say that. But like Bianca's was the one that was the most obvious, where I was like, okay, this is Olympics inspired, like clearly.
No, but
Because I was
like
like,
those
that
are
looks like a
literally the ones
leotard.
that like they
Yeah, no, I
literally
got you.
wore those.
I got you. I'm just saying that my mind was halfway there already. Like clearly, like I
Yeah.
picked up on that part. I didn't get this Simone Biles, but when you think about Olympics in America, you think about Simone Biles. So
Yeah. I'll share the picture with you right now. Yeah, here it is. Just found it. I'll screen share.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I like that dark navy one. That was my favorite one for sure. That Naomi had on. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, definitely recognize the stripes. Yeah, the red, white, and blue for sure. I was like, that was too obvious. Where I was like, yeah, she looks like a gymnast out there, Bianca.
Yeah, Bianca's is definitely the most closest
Yeah,
one,
on
but like you could
yeah.
see where Jade's at, and actually, I would say Naomi's is just as much as the one in Simone Biles as well. So
Mm,
again, that's the stuff that I don't pick up on, whether it be wrestling or even like Game of Thrones. When they're talking about like, oh, the greens and like I remember when Joanna was talking about all the outfits in House of Dragons,
hmm.
and I'm like, what? Does that even matter? And she's like, it matters. And I'm like, I guess
Yeah.
so. That's not my bag, but that's pretty cool how when people spot the costume design that some
Hmm.
people come out with, I'm like, oh, okay. That shows you the thoughtfulness that a lot of these wrestlers put into it, especially someone like Bianca who actually just like makes her own stuff, which is
Hmm.
again, man, just like sometimes you be like, what are you not amazing at?
Yeah, and
And
then there's a certain, I think it's probably because it feels like such a maternal feature, but like being a seamstress or just sewing things, like that always feels like such an auntie thing. Like when you picture somebody sewing, like that's definitely like a woman who's like 55 plus at least. But
I
yeah,
saw
the
a
thought of her
video
just
clip of like Bianca in like a makeup chair, and like somebody
mhm.
was like doing her makeup, so she had her eyes closed, but at the same time she was like fixing something on her outfit without even looking at it.
Yeah, she got just feeling it. Yeah.
I'm just like, Jesus, like
Yeah.
Montez lucked the hell out. Like this woman literally is just MacGyver and could just do whatever she wants.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, he got himself a catch for sure. Uh I got Bloodline retaining over Street Profits. Speaking of Montez,
mhm,
Montez had all of his high spots of the night, like the
yep,
from the heavens frog splash. Like I still love, like that's one of my favorite dives outside. Is like when he actually jumps over the high side of the corner, like
yep.
turnbuckle. Awesome. Meanwhile, Jacob Fatu. I mean, I would have believed, like if Jacob Fatu was not there at ringside, I could believe the Street Profits or winning this match because you know why? Because Tongaloa is part of that match. Like right before
Mhm.
that match, Solo's like, "Give me your title, Jacob Fatu. Better yet, give it to Tongaloa. You know, how can you be a tag team title holder if you're my personal enforcer?"
Yeah.
And he just corrects the ship exactly what we knew should have happened already. Because I guess maybe we figured, or I figured that we were just doing Rock and Freebird rules for the Bloodline, clearly,
Yeah.
but apparently not. And Solo just corrected that. So with him doing that, I was like, it's definitely the right decision because Jacob is clearly the fucking ace of that group and the single titles holder out of that group. So
I
if it
mean, and the
wasn't for
dude
him,
at the show that was sitting in front of us, he explained it. He
yeah,
gave a good rationale as well, saying that like technically on his on his leisure, he's going to say he wanted tag. He's a tag team champion.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So it's like as far as like getting the what you call it, the triple crown,
mhm,
like it's already on the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Like tag team champion. So it's like you already got that, and now you're free to win whatever title you want now. Like so, you don't have to worry
yeah,
about double championing Jacob Fatu so early in his career.
yeah. I think you could definitely. I would love to see LA Knight get annihilated by fucking Jacob Fatu. Like that would be sick.
Yeah. You
Oh
think
man.
you think Jacob is coming out with the belt like Umaga, just like holding it from like the mouth?
Oh,
Didn't Umaga used to come out with the belt like just like holding it from his mouth?
I feel like he did that once or twice for sure. I think he was more of a strutter like The Rock, didn't he? I feel it because he definitely wouldn't wear it. He wouldn't wear it around his waist. But yeah, he definitely did
I
that a
gotta
few
look up those
times.
old Umaga clips.
The old Umaga stuff,
Maybe I'm just what's that thing where you like make up something that you thought happened?
Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, right now I even like the way he carries or carried the tag title. It's just strapped but around his neck, and he's
Yeah,
just
that's
hanging
really
on to the
dope.
front of it. I like that.
Maybe
So
did Umaga do that? I gotta go back and look up some Umaga stuff just to like get a
yeah.
refresher. It's been a minute.
hmm But yeah, I would have,
Um,
like I said before, I would have believed the Street Profits would have won if Jacob didn't, super kick everybody in the face with his broken ankle because he's a monster. I said, even just that detail for a smart, fan for myself, I'm like, yeah, he's on another level. Like he's
yeah,
literally superhuman. He has a broken fucking foot, and like I believe he's in pain, but I believe that he's also just wild enough to just ignore it, basically. Uh,
beast.
but yeah, that was the end of
Oh,
my mids. What are you about to say?
no, I was just saying, Jacob's a beast. He's a dog. He's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And all right, last thing. I mean, Tongaloa is already trash. We know that, so I'm not going to beat that dead horse. But Tamatanga with a flatliner, like, because Jacob effectively takes out the Street Profits himself with super kicks and then throws Angelo Dawkins back into the ring, and then Tamatanga just hits him with a flatliner. 1, 2, 3.
Hmm.
Yeah. I just want something else. I just want something else there as your finisher. I feel like that flatliner could be Tongaloa's finisher because he's whack. You know what I'm saying? That just fits him better. But Tama Tonga I like, and I think he could use something better. That's all.
I'm telling you, man. I think they hear the chatter. They hear the
Yeah.
chatter with number two. You
Hmm.
know, I think, and it sucks because now number two doesn't have the eye patch, so like I can't really call him number two anymore. But
Yeah.
he will forever be number two to me.
Yeah.
But I think they hear the chatter and they're gonna work it into a storyline of some sort. I feel like that's gonna happen.
Did you notice like during the match, or you remember like when he tagged in, the crowd did start chanting, "You can't wrestle." There was part of the crowd that was chanting, "You can't wrestle" while we were there. I remember that. And I was like, oh shit, y'all letting Tongaloa have it.
Hey, DC baby, DC.
Wait, the last thing I had
Yeah, what y'all?
was yeah, my shake. And it's definitely the company man Carmelo Hayes. I like that little vignette confronted in the
Yeah.
barbershop by Andrade. Um, and I call him the company man because I mean, you already said I don't have to explain it to you, but for the whole one or two people that is listening to us right now, Carmelo Hayes is just talking this shit about Andrade, how he's better than him and all this stuff. Andrade busts in the barbershop and he's like, "Hey, what you was doing last week is disrespectful or whatever." He's like, "Well, yeah, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? Get him out of here." You know what I'm saying? And then Andrade leaves and like Carmelo just being a punk ass. It's like, "Hey, y'all need to lock these doors up in here. Like when I'm doing an interview, lock the doors so don't nobody be busting up in here." And then the last thing, he's like, "Yeah, somebody get me a prime." I was like, all right. Said nobody ever. Nobody has ever said, "Hey, somebody get me a prime." Yeah, you squeezing in that network deal or that sponsorship deal for
Yeah,
Logan.
yeah,
But
right.
but yeah, I just thought that was just real funny that he said, "Somebody get me a
Maybe,
prime" was the
maybe,
last thing.
maybe, maybe that is a little Easter egg where he's has an alliance with Logan Paul.
Well, yeah, their characters definitely get along. They're both so brash and arrogant. They're two peas in a pod. You know what I
They
mean?
haven't interacted to say that we can get along, but I feel like they could
Mm.
maybe be a tag team. Well,
No,
they
I'm
had a
just
match.
saying with their characters, like how I look at them individually, they just fit. You know what I'm saying? That tag
Yeah.
team would work. It's just kind of like how literally right before A Town Down Under, we were saying those two would be too good together, and they
Yeah.
are. So that I think that would be a good match for sure, or a good tag team.
I did like the vignette because again, it was just some good production quality as far
Mhm.
as like
And
how it was
it's
shooting.
a different place also. With Carmelo,
Yeah.
I will give him like flowers for that. He being black. That mean you found that
Yeah.
nigga in the trap. He in the barber shop. You know what I'm saying? That's where we be at.
From
So
Boston. Like I said, he's from Boston. Is he really in the trap? That dude
I
was in
guess. I
Cambridge.
don't know.
That dude was in
I don't
Cambridge.
know. I mean, I was out in UMass campus, Amherst.
Right.
Like,
Right. But finally, we are here. It's Saturday, the day of the recording, and the pop up show is actually on Sunday. But that allows us to put out this prediction and allow people to hear it. So let's get into this pop up show. A match card of 10. Uh, let's go through it one by one. I do have our PLE records on display here.
yeah, I
They're not going to
noticed.
change much. It's pretty good. It's going to be obvious eventually when we get Cole to be on this episode as a,
Mhm.
as a third host. We'll have some, actual diversity in these standings right now. But right now, I'm 0-1. I lost SummerSlam. You are 1-0. You won SummerSlam. So we got a big card that we should be able to figure out like how I feel like it's gonna be. We'll see how diverse our predictions are when we get through this.
Mhm.
Let's start off with the pre-show match: Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tohiro Ishii in a mixed tag match, and the winning team will choose a stipulation match between Willow and Statlander at All Out. Who you got?
I just think it's funny Stokely Hathaway's in the match. Like that's where I think
Right.
it's uh not truly because it's just a stipulation match. Because I feel like I mean Willow is obviously the bigger star here, and I think she can take because she's not taking the pin here. You have to excuse me. I just got to talk myself through it through my thinking process. But no, I
My
guess
my
I'll call it
logic,
Chris Statlander. I'll call it Chris Statlander will win
yeah. I
because
mean, my
yeah,
logic
like
in
it's
this is that.
just
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Willow has beat her already, so that's where it's just she's got to get a win somewhere for this feud to logically continue. You know what I mean? And it's just a stipulation setting match. It's not like any titles on the line or anything, which makes it a lot more believable. So yeah, I'm going Chris Statlander
Yeah, my
and
logic to go
Stokely.
with Chris Statlander is like I don't know what stipulation Willow would put. She doesn't seem like the one to be giving out a stipulation. She seems more in the position to be the one to be placed in a stipulation.
Mm.
So that's why I kind of give the edge to Chris Statlander because I feel like Chris Statlander is probably going to be. It's going to make it seem like it's going to make Willow Nightingale look like she's in a more difficult position when they get to All Out. And so it just, I think Will is going to come out at the winning at the end of it, but we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, both of us Chris Statlander, so we're even right now. Next match, we got a four-way ladder match. A four-way London ladder match for the AEW World's Trios match. The Patriarchy versus the Bang Bang Gang versus House of Black versus Pac and the Deadpool, Blackpool. I said Deadpool, Blackpool Combat Club. Who you got? This interesting.
I think it's funny that you said it's a London ladder match specifically.
Yeah, four. It says four-way London ladder match.
That's funny. I just you know how they just specify things. I'm like, all right, what makes it a London ladder match then? I'm like, they're gonna have Big Ben as the ladder, like
Yeah,
you know, what I'm saying them climbing up the clock. Um, just to keep this short, I'm going House of Black.
I'm going to go. I mean, do you have any explanation?
Absolutely not. I actually don't. So I just like the only explanation I'll give you is just the fact that I should be yeah, is that they've been around the trios titles like
Mhm.
forever without having them. That's all.
Okay.
Like this is me saying they're due. You know what I'm saying? They're beyond due. Like
Yeah.
because out of this, I will tell you, in my opinion, like the patriarchy are definitely the most well built. And then you got Bang Bang Gang. Like with them, those are the two favorites for sure. Because Bang Bang Gang, they were stripped of like the unified trios championships for no fucking or not no reason, but because Jay White got hurt. So they got stripped, and then that's when patriarchy won it. So they kind of have their own internal rivalry happening. I would like to see House of Black come in there and just like throw a wrench in both of those teams' plans. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm pretty sure they haven't. I'm pretty sure they haven't won them before or any belts. They might have, but it's
Good.
escaping me.
That's a good rationale. I again, I don't have much context, but I'm just gonna go with Pac and Blackpool Combat Club. Even though I do think maybe Okada interferes and fucks with Claudio, so
Hmm.
maybe that takes them out. But I don't know. That seems like a pretty formidable squad, and I think those guys, both especially like Pac and Wheeler Yuta, like Wheeler was just in a match with Swerve, on the main event. Pac, he had some type of rivalry with somebody recently. I can't remember, but they've been in positions where I think each minute one of these men have been in positions recently where I'm like giving them the AEW World Trios Championship would be the next move. So I'll go with Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club.
But
So our first differing opinions. Next, tag team championship triple threat. Bucks, FTR, the Acclaim. I'm gonna go with the Acclaim. I think
Okay.
they seem pretty desperate just from like their promos the last couple weeks. That I'm like, I think they're gonna pull it out. I think they're gonna pull it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And this also shows you
go.
like I don't keep up with AEW, so I'm probably gonna lose most of these AEW matchups.
Yeah. And like I said, even like the ones that I care about the most, like those are very well written. Like the top four on this
Yeah.
card, those are still all 50-50 to me. So like basically. But for myself, I'm gonna go. I think because I feel like the Young Bucks can lose the titles. Like, uh, do the Acclaimed win them back? Because I really don't feel like FTR does. I'll go. I'll go Young Bucks.
Okay.
What the hell? All right, there we go.
Casino Gauntlet.
Yeah, Casino Gauntlet prediction.
I don't have a really prediction. Yeah, Ricochet would be a good one.
That's the prediction for me. Ricochet debut because I don't, Casino Gauntlet is it's their Money in the Bank basically, or not Money in the Bank, but they get a title shot for it. So it's like, all right, who could be in the back that actually earned a title shot, basically, or you can believe could get a title shot if you want to catapult them up, real quick. But I don't know who that could be. I mean,
John Moxley.
and that's a good one. Ain't seen Moxley in forever. He's been out,
I'll
so
go Moxley.
that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I could see Hangman. I could see Hangman.
Hangman's a good one too.
Yeah.
And maybe that gets a Hangman Moxley rivalry because Hangman thought like this is my time. Because it just seems weird to have Ricochet debut and immediately get to
A title shot. Yeah. No, I just think, he's not winning it. I just think he'll be in it. Hopefully. So
But
I got Hangman as the winner.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I put the slash there. Hangman's the winner, but Ricochet.
Hook, Jericho, I'm keeping it short. Hook. I'm always picking.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. It is Hook for sure.
Osprey, MJF. Where's All Out? Where's All Out? Is All Out international?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Because that's the thing, though, when you think about All In, because All In and All Out are like two of their big four, but it's literally like part one and part two, like of the same pay-per-view cycle, basically. So it's like, one leads into the other.
All Out's in Illinois.
Illinois, Chicago. All right.
Hoffman Estates. So wherever Hoffman Estates is. Does the hometown guy win?
I really want
the American Championship lasts for a few more weeks.
I think because, like I said, I think it's literally just a calendar year thing where it's like, all right, yeah, we're good with this at least until like November, like election day.
Yeah.
And then bringing up All Out, that also leads me to believe I think MJF can retain this. We'll get it back. I mean, honestly, going into it, I'm like, MJF has been such an asshole that I'm like, yo, you're really pegging right now on like how much you should be like getting away with for like as much of a fuckboy as you've been. You know what I'm saying? Talking about easy dub after wrestling for an hour, like just being like the most arrogant guy. But that's the only thing that could like justify MJF even more is like beating him in front of his hometown. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know that Will Ospreay is gonna be AEW champion, not even just the international champion. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna go MJF with a Ricochet debut.
Okay,
Ricochet debuts heel. He
that's
associates
great. Yeah,
he
debuting.
associates with MJF. And I think part of
That's
it
like,
maybe works with MJ. Maybe Ricochet also eventually getting the. I think eventually it's just all ploy to just kind of like show Ricochet is just like this master manipulator.
no, that's what's up, and that's also like high key the like probably the number one um like dream match people were talking about was, or not number one, but like at least for Ricochet would be Will Ospreay. So like him
Yeah,
coming in and interfering in the match, that just works perfectly. If you just want to get
yeah.
that,
You interfere, cost them the match. You
yeah,
align with MJF, right? And you
hmm
have Ricochet and MJF standing in the ring over Will Ospreay's broken body in his home
yeah,
country, and it's like, oh, okay, Ricochet just came in as the biggest heel. You get a Ricochet Will Ospreay match at All Out,
hmm
right? At some point, you can have Ricochet turn on MJF, and again, he's
yeah,
still a heel in all of this situation. Like, it's not necessarily like Ricochet needs to turn face, but it's like, in that sense, you're like, oh, we now like MJF again, right? And it's like now you can get a triple threat match between Ricochet, Will Ospreay, and MJF for the international slash American championship at some point.
yeah.
So
I think it would be
that's
awesome
how.
to have like to go
Go
with
ahead.
your booking of. No, I said it would be awesome to go with your booking of like Ricochet being on his side. I'm like, I just imagine him in a stars and stripes suit, like coming
Yeah.
out just matching MJF. Like if that would happen, I'd be like, oh, this son of a bitch, you already know, coming down with the stars and stripes on. What you think about? I mean, I think Mercedes is gonna win this match. Yeah.
I called it. Yeah, I said it earlier. I think this is too
hmm
early for Britt to win it. I think she's has a bit of a kind of Cody Rhodes esque storyline to her winning the AEW Women's Championship back, and this is just, as Paul Heyman would say, we're probably in the first inning, second inning of this.
Yeah.
I do think Mercedes retains, and I do think in this case, like Mercedes is not the hottest as far as like act right now. Um, I think there is like a lot of like not a like I don't think the fans are really receiving her character as well as you would as they would like. But I do think there's still conversation that's being had around whether it be good or bad and whether people like how the character is coming off. Publicity is publicity, right? And
Yeah.
so I do think it's something that like even if people don't like how the Mercedes character is coming off right now, that's something that AEW can lean into as saying that like, hey, this is just going to make Brits win in the future that much more, you know, enjoyable when that moment actually does happen. So Mercedes wins right now. Camille is still a problem for Brit. She's gonna have to find her tall, big bodied, you know,
hmm
enforcer on her side, and then eventually we'll get the moment that we've been wanting to see, and that's an AEW original winning the title and bringing it back home to have an AEW fans. So not gonna happen tonight or this weekend, but it's going to happen at some point soon. Tony Storm, Mariah
Man, these are
May.
the yeah, no, these last two, like the actual world championship, these are the two best stories and the two best booked. Like this between all four of these competitors, like this is like S tier shit, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
No Swerve and Danielson are gonna have a bang up match. And this is where I'm truly like 50-50 and I have no clue. Just because I feel like I'll just tell you what's going through my head right now is that this is where we've been building to, right? Like Tony Storm has been champion for a year, if not a year, then going on a year. She's at like 300 something days for sure.
Mhm.
She took Mariah May under her wing when Mariah May was originally her biggest fan and just wanted to learn from her. And everything was going swimmingly up until she betrayed her and like bloodied her up with a shoe, which was fucking awesome. And I think the timing of it, like just the timing of like a long term storytelling in general, I think this is like a very good time that you could like take the title off of her just for progression of the story. You know what I'm saying? This is where you led us to. So that's the only thing that makes me like, I guess, want to see Mariah May win. However, I fucking love Toni Storm. She's probably my favorite women's wrestler right now. Like as a character, and as long as she's been doing it, it's this is the toughest. Like I want to say, oh man, how many title changes do I have in here? I'm gonna re-look at this again. Now we're up at the major one. So yeah, the major four. So we got 2 retentions. Ugh, Toni Storm.
I got one title change. I got 2 title changes actually. So
I got Young Bucks retaining. I got House of Black. Hmm. Well, I'm willing to believe that. I'm willing to believe that Mariah wins this. But this is also, I'll be happy either way because this is the best women's storyline that's even happening in wrestling. So, like,
yeah.
I really can't choose. But just because the story's been well, and I think she finally like flipped. Because if you have a rematch, it's not gonna have the same like gravitas, I suppose. But this is the issue with All In leading into All Out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, all right, well, what happens for All Out? You know what I'm saying? Because it could very easily just be a DQ or something, or not a DQ, but like some type of schmoz finish, and then you end up getting a rematch at All Out. You know what I mean? So, but if I'm to believe that they are finishing this chapter of it right now, then Mariah May is winning.
It's a straight up singles match. I think if the way I process, I think I'm like, what was the overall point of this storyline? Like, what was AEW trying to get out of this for like each of these characters, right? Obviously, you're establishing a threat in Mariah May, but I think on the other side for Toni, it's you kind of want to turn her face, right? If she wasn't already face. Again, this is my ignorance speaking, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you're doing that, you know. And I think in a sense, I think Toni can win this time, and maybe this gives Mariah May an opportunity to go back to the drawing board. And I was overconfident the first time, but now at All Out on this rematch, I'm gonna get you, and then maybe that's where she pulls it out. So I'm gonna go title retention, Toni Storm. And again, I think it worked out because it's like Toni is the face in this, right? And so it's like
Yeah, she is.
let her be the face and win. She's not gonna lose turning face. You know what I'm saying? Like she's gonna be she's gonna get at least one win out of it. So that's where my logic goes to.
Yeah, sure. I think that's
Um
where like my excitement for this whole angle, trying to invent a word,
yeah.
primodential or whatever the fuck it was, like it just right now I just feel like this is that perfect cross section of like if you wanted to like really establish Mariah. Like I mean personally she is established already because of this storyline has been so good. Like I recognize Mariah May now, you know what I'm saying? Like she's a real
Yeah.
player. But like the only question is, do you believe her holding the title? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I'm kind of like talking myself out of it, where it's like I don't know where Mariah goes from there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because if she would win the title, then there's no way that like, oh, she's just on to the next one. I wouldn't think so, unless Toni Storm was injured,
No,
because Tony
but
would be
she's a
coming back for
pretty
that. So.
dominating threat though. I mean, she's a dominating threat. So I think it is maybe a kind of
Yeah.
like who can take me down. Kind of like a not Brock Lesnar aspect, but just someone
Hmm.
that's so physically intimidating. Like, have they had a women's champion as intimidating as her, like physically imposing as her?
Nyla Rose.
Yeah, different type, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
that's more.
Jade is the only other one for sure. For
Yeah, she
like,
was a
Jade would be the
TBS
one.
champion, but she was
Yeah,
a
she was an
TBS.
AEW
Yeah.
champion. Yeah.
So, um, it's a different look. That's all I'm saying. Like even like not just to dismiss anything with Nyla, but like Nyla, I would say it's more traditional in the sense of like the same way like the Big Show winning, I guess. Like
Hmm.
I guess the big like just because you're not hefty, but just because you're bulkier, I feel like that's still more traditional in a sense where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like these physically imposing people of like Jade Cargill or just super tall and muscular. Bianca is another one. It's like, man,
Hmm.
that's a different person. Rhea is a
Yeah,
different person. You know what I'm saying? Like to the entire roster.
yeah,
So that's where I think she gets it an all out. I
yeah.
think,
I mean, you're probably right about that. That'll
yeah, it's
be
like what
where
do
it
we talk
should
about with
happen.
like
But
teams going to teams going to the playoffs? It's like you got to get your experience. Tony's been there,
mhm.
done that. Mariah hasn't.
And that's where I say that's where the issue is with me, where it has like, well, yeah, we got a pay per view just going into another pay per view. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like hard to just
yeah,
see where it's going, knowing there's a part two coming like in 2 weeks. So
yeah. Understandable, understandable. I didn't see this on the Wikipedia list of matches, but on your Bleacher Report update, it had this match on here, so I'm gonna add it in. Jack Perry, Darby Allin in a ladders match, I believe. Is it a ladders match? Let me
it's a
clarify.
coffin
Coffin
match.
match. Coffin
Coffin
match
match. Yeah, that's
for the
Darby's specialty.
TNT Championship match.
Hmm.
I'm going to go Jack Perry for the simple fact
Yep.
that, like, I feel like Darby's had the up for like the past few weeks. That I'm like the what is the executives called?
Yeah, the EVPs,
Yeah, what is their group called again?
the elite.
Yeah, the elite. Okay, yeah. So yeah, they're gonna help out Jack Perry. Like this is Darby Allin's gonna lose this match.
Yeah.
I think Darby's had a lot of good weeks that he's gotten over Jack. That I'm like, now is the time for Jack to get his win. So it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be clean, but I think that's Jack finally gets his revenge over Darby Allin after weeks of being tormented by him.
Yeah. And also I just think, I mean, you bring it up the fact that like, oh, I challenge you, like quote unquote, like to your specialty match. Like that's confidence right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like he ain't sure Jack is ready for this. I think it'll be interesting, if anything, just like the match dynamics themselves, because like Jack's not the biggest guy, but Darby is always the smallest guy in the ring. So like just seeing Jack as a base, I think is gonna be interesting. I think this is gonna be like I think honestly that could be like a sneaky like steal the show kind of match right there.
yeah.
But yeah, I
It
got
should be
Jack
it should
winning
be
for sure.
entertaining. Definitely should be entertaining. Finally, we get to the main event. Swerve Strickland versus Brian Danielson for the AEW World Championship. Is there any stipulations to this match? Don't think so.
Uh
Nope.
if
Title versus
Brian
career.
Danielson loses, it's title
Yeah.
versus career. Yeah, that's the stipulation. So
Outside of that, do
do you
I
believe
believe?
that? Yeah, do you believe?
I said it last week. Swerve is going to do what he said this week. Like exactly what he said this week on TNT, on Dynamite, is that he's going to end his career.
That's
Um,
exactly what.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought I was interrupting you, but yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, that's exactly what um, I was leaning towards. Is that I really just want that rub for him. You know what I'm saying? Because as shitty as that sounds, like he's already like in his prime, Swerve, and being AEW champion. But the thought of like, I feel like it has to be. This is a similar reign, kind of like, and or it's not. It's a better reign than Damian Priest had, but I think critically it's being maybe looked down upon by fans somewhat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it took like even the Will Ospreay, like he had to beat Will Ospreay at the last pay-per-view for people to like shut up about that, basically, which that was interesting because I watched like an interview with Ospreay and he was talking about that, and he was like how it was like ridiculous that anybody was even talking about him have the AEW title, and like Swerve is his guy also, and it's like that's the best thing I can do right now. But I think there's Brian Danielson definitely has that in him. Like that dude, he loves, bleeds wrestling. Like he would definitely put somebody over on the way out the door. So now it's just if you believe if he's gonna move out or go out the door or not.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And on top of that, it's obvious I'm rooting for everybody black. Ain't no way he was gonna get me to say motherfucking Brian Danielson like right here, right now. So yeah, it's Swerve. Easy. That was an easy decision just based off,
Yeah.
just based off that. So
All right. That is the AEW All In card predictions. We have how many different opinions? We differ on the the trios
Casino
match,
Gauntlet. Yeah.
the Casino Gauntlet, which again that's just kind of like picking a lottery ticket. We
Yeah.
differ on the tag team championship triple threat match. You have the Bucks, I have the Acclaimed. So that's three different, and then everything else. Oh, and Tony Storm and
And
Mariah May.
Mariah May, yeah. Which looking at
So
that, I'm like, damn, you're probably right about that. Like maybe Mariah gets it all out if they have like, a heel match. Like they can just only use heels
yeah,
busting each other inside the face.
I'm gonna call the Casino Gauntlet a tiebreaker because we don't know who's in the match, so we're
Yeah,
just
I'm
making
looking
like
at oh
justified guesses.
shit.
But right now
Oh
we have
man.
three opinions that we differ in. So at least there is going to be a decided winner for whoever comes out with the correct amount of opinions of.
Yeah. And obviously we don't know like every single like AEW person on the roster. So like I was just looking this up and I'm just looking at their roster page right now
Yeah.
because I feel like we should be like looking at it just so you can have an educated guess. So I'm just gonna say some other names real quick if you want to change it. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Because obviously we just
it's
did this
already
off the
locked
cuff.
in. We done. We done. We got to
We
get to
still
these
on the
champions.
pod.
You should have did your homework. You should have did your homework if you wanted to do that.
Well, I mean, I'm not afraid or anything. I'm just saying, but just hear me out. I won't change any, but just hear me out.
Okay.
Um, Kenny Omega. It's like, oh
Okay.
yeah, that's been a while. Forgot about him, right? I already got a Hangman up in here. Konosuke Takeshita. I think Takeshita's that's a good shout right there. Oh no, Malachi's already in another match. Penta's in another
Okay.
match, so can't say him. See, look, it wasn't even that strong. See, so even off the top, it was still like, but just those two, I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
I could believe that. So, but yeah, I definitely did it. Neither one of us did the homework. So,
Jeff
just
Jarrett.
oh god, Samoa Joe, he's still on here.
Yeah, he got taken out by Jericho. Remember when he drove him through the wall?
Oh
That
yeah, that's
cardboard
right.
that
Yeah,
cardboard
that's
wall.
right.
But let's get into the champions of the week.
For sure.
Mine, I call this the 3-6 Mafia Posse Cut title belt. For the fans that we sat with in section 109, we went to SmackDown last night. It was a great crowd overall, but our section, I gotta give them props. The people were energized. We sat behind a group. I swear they were starting chants and they were all into it. Great conversations. Very funny people, especially during the dark matches at the end when we got to see Liv versus Kairi Sane. So overall, section 109, y'all get the title of the belt, the 3-6 Mafia Posse Cut. And if y'all don't know, goes into a 3-6 Mafia Posse Cut, there's a lot of motherfuckers on that track. So
Yeah.
that is where the reference comes into play.
Yeah, I got you.
That's my champion.
Yeah, my champion of the week goes to the NXT Women's Title Eliminator match. They get the Go Power Rangers title belt,
Mm-hmm.
and collectively, I had to look their names up real quick, but goes to specifically. All right, we got Ren Sinclair, Adriana Rizzo, Brinley Reese, and Kendall Gray. I'm saying this because there was a point in the match, like Sol Ruka's out of the ring at this point in time, but you just see the most Power Ranger looking meme, in my opinion, where you have like the same like boy short and like top combo, and they're just different colors. Where you got Ren Sinclair in pink, Adriana Rizzo in blue, and I'm not even sure how like who was who, and that's why I thought it was funny, and I named it that because I was just like, I know I've mentioned to you before, like it's still hard for me to like filter out like which women are which, and then you just put them in a color scheme that's different, but they all have matching shit. And it's like, all right, yeah, y'all knew that we couldn't tell the difference between these women. So you just color coordinated them basically. So I'll get their names down and I'll figure out who everybody is in that match eventually when they make a larger impact. But no rooting against you, but y'all look like some Power Rangers out there, like just to give us some distinction. And I'm like, all right, insert generic white woman wrestler right here. You know what I mean? That's just how it felt to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I remember when we were at the show, you said something at the show that you were going to use as you were claiming as a champion of the week, and I was like, you just got to come up with a good pop culture reference. Or was
Yeah.
it
Oh
before
no,
the
that's
show?
good. Yeah, I was because it was specifically the guy that was like yelling out for Liv.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
I was just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
I
yeah.
called dibs on him. I didn't care about that though.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Like,
he's
so,
part of the 3-6 Mafia Posse cut title
yeah,
belt, so
yeah, he's part of that.
he,
So
he got his championship of the week anyway. So
yeah,
that is
he did
it
have
for
quote of the
us.
night, and he was like, "I don't appreciate the way y'all ain't fucking with Liv in this section over here." Like,
But that is it for us on the week of wrestling and the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. Habsha Hey Samson.
yeah, and the French fry fro Moody. Follow us on social, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, all at the Wrestling
Yep.
Re-Up, and send us an email at the Wrestling Re-Up at gmail.com.
Yep.
Also.
And like, subscribe, and share and comment like the Activist Prism. Activist Prism. I would also look for you like to like this video as well. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we
And
appreciate you for sure.
catch us next week as we recap AEW All In and everything else that happened in the week of wrestling as we stroll through the avenue of wrestling. This is the Wrestling Rehab Podcast. We out.
All right, later.